economic prosperity, employment, and exports. By sharing knowledge and by policy advocacy, also serving as a voice of industry and trade, we are committed to ensure India's transformation into a globally competitive economy by 2047.
As we move forward, our commitment to progress,
and it needs to maintain its growth momentum in a sustained and consistent manner.
the two foundations, namely PhD, FWF, and RDF, represent our deep dedication through their interventions for environmental protection and the well-being of marginalized populations.
PhD CCI is dedicated to advancing Honorable Prime Minister's Viksit Bharat vision by driving innovation, sustainability, and inclusivity. As an apex industry body, we foster collaboration between businesses and policymakers to boost economic prosperity, employment, and exports. By sharing knowledge and by policy advocacy, also serving as a voice of industry and trade, we are committed to ensure India's transformation into a globally competitive economy by 2047.
As we move forward, our commitment to progress, collaboration, and excellence remains unwavering. Join us in shaping a brighter future where industry, government, and society unite for unprecedented growth. PhD CCI, the voice of PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry, voice of industry and trade. In the grand symphony of commerce and trade, every note counts. Imagine a world where your voice is lost in the noise.
As a voice of industry and trade, we are committed to ensure India's transformation into a globally competitive economy by 2047.
As we move forward, our commitment to progress, collaboration, and excellence remains unwavering. Join us in shaping a brighter future where industry, government, and society unite for unprecedented growth. PhD CCI, the voice of industry and trade. PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry, voice of industry and trade. In the grand symphony of commerce and trade, every note counts. Imagine a world where your voice is lost in the noise, where your ideas, needs, and aspirations go unnoticed. In the dynamic realm of industry, having a clear, strong voice isn't just important, it is vital. Welcome to PhD CCI, where your voice isn't just amplified, it is heard. For 119 years, PhD CCI has been a dynamic force in promoting Indian industry, trade, and entrepreneurship. Under Prime Minister Modi's visionary leadership and supportive policies, India has become one of the world's fastest growing economies.
PhD CCI is committed to driving a sustainable development and empowering business to make a meaningful impact in today's global economy. As we together in a vision of Viksit Bharat by 2047, PhD CCI is
we welcome all the key dignitaries to this important session, the revenue requirements of Indian Army and the opportunities for Indian defense industry. We take this opportunity to first of all welcome our chief guest for the day, Lieutenant General Amardeep Singh Aujla, PVSM, UYSM, YSM, SM, VSM, Master General Sustenance, Indian Army. Thank you, sir, for kindly gracing this occasion. We have with us, apart from the MGS, we have ADG MGS branch, Major General HPS Hansi, SM, VSM, Additional Director General MGS branch, Indian Army. We have with us with Major General S. Narang. Major General Narang. Okay, he's not here. Brigadier Bhupender Rekhi, Brigadier Import, PCM, MGS branch, Indian Army, and Brigadier Gudara. Thank you, sir. Along with all the senior dignitaries. We have also with us Mr. Rudra Shriram, the Chair of the Defense Committee, PAGCCI, and the President, DCM Shriram Industries Limited. Mr. Vaibhav Gupta, Co-Chair, PAGCCI Defense and Naturalist Committee and Director, MKU Limited. Mr. M.K. Gupta, Co-Chair, PAGCCI Defense and Naturalist Committee and Managing Director, Starwire India Limited. Mr. Arjun Alturi, Senior Vice President, Zen Technologies, and also the Co-Chair of Defense and Naturalist Committee, PAGCCI. And there are also senior industry leaders like Mr. Ashish Kansal and others industry leaders from the Indian defense industry. To begin this auspicious occasion, I would like to invite the chief guest for the day on the dais, Lieutenant General Amardeep Singh Aujla, PVSM, UYSM, YSM, SM, VSM, Master General Sustainers, Indian Army, on the dais, please, sir. Please give him a big round of applause. Shri Rudra Shriram, the Chair, PAGCCI Defense and Naturalist Committee, and President, DCM Shriram Industries Limited. Mr. M.K. Gupta, Co-Chair, PAGCCI Defense and Naturalist Committee, and Managing Director, Starwire India Limited. And Shri Vaibhav Gupta ji, Co-Chair, PAGCCI Defense and Naturalist Committee, and Director, MKU Limited. Before we begin the proceedings of this important session, I would request everyone to rise for the national anthem. Thank you. This is an honor and a privilege to welcome all of you to this important conference on revenue procurement for the Indian Army and the emerging opportunities for the Indian defense industry. We all know that the revenue procurement plays a crucial role in ensuring the operational efficiency, maintenance, and the day-to-day readiness of the Indian Army. And as we move towards greater self-reliance and the vision of the Atmanirbhar Bharat, there's a significant opportunity for the Indian defense industry to align with the Army's operational needs through indigenous solutions, innovation, and timely support. This conference would serve as a platform to foster and enable dialogue and streamline process. They strengthen the partnership between the Army and the industry stakeholders. We met our chief guest, Lieutenant General Aujla, and he was very, very supportive and very industry friendly. He discussed some of the important points on how to promote the private sector, Indian private sector, sir, and align them with in the defense supply chain of the Indian Army. And the Indian industry is very excited, sir. And they're ready with their questions also. In the next session, we have the senior officers from your branch, sir, and they'll be answering all the questions. And they're very keen, and most other industries are also following, and we have also prepared a feedback form, which we'll be distributing to all the participants for their feedback, which was actually initiated by Brigadier Import. So we'll be working on that also, sir. This forum is an essential step in building the transparent, efficient, and responsive procurement ecosystem. It also serves as a call to the private and the public sector alike to innovate, integrate, and invest in solutions that enhance the Indian Army's capabilities while boosting the nation's defense manufacturing base. So we look forward to a very engaging discussion and some insightful discussions, and how do we make India more self-reliant and in our defense needs, and also give opportunities to the private sector, especially the MSMEs and the startups. So I would like to invite Shri Rudra Shriram, the Chair of the PAGCCI Defense and Naturalist Committee, and the President, DCM Shriram Industries Limited, to formally welcome all the dignitaries and the delegates for this program. Shri Rudra Shriram ji.
Namaskar and good morning, distinguished guests, industry leaders, partners, and colleagues. It is both an honor and a privilege to welcome you all on behalf of the Chamber and its Defense and Homeland Security Committee to this focused and forward-looking session on revenue requirements of Indian Army, opportunities for Indian defense industry. We gather here today at a moment in time when the Indian defense sector is undergoing a very profound transformation. While capital procurement often dominates discussions and sets the tone around indigenization and modernization, today's theme wisely pivots our attention to an equally vital domain, revenue procurement, which is the backbone of sustenance, readiness, and resilience of our armed forces. This session, in many ways, is a recognition of the fact that India's defense preparedness is not just about acquiring new platforms, but also about maintaining and supporting them with timely supplies, repairs, upgradations, and reliable life cycle support. And in this space, the Indian industry, particularly MSMEs, Tier 1 and Tier 2 players, can play a decisive and enabling role. We are deeply honored to be joined by Lieutenant General Ojla, whose leadership and commitment to fostering a robust and responsive supply ecosystem is truly exemplary. Sir, your presence today reaffirms the Army's inclusive approach and willingness to engage directly with the private sector. Your guidance will go a long way in helping industry align its strengths to the needs of our armed forces. I'd like to also extend my warmest gratitude to all of our industry partners, MKU, Zen, and IDP, for supporting this initiative and for their continuous contributions to India's defense industrial base. Your partnership reflects the growing confidence and capability within Indian industry to shoulder greater responsibility in its nation building activities. Friends, the Defense and HLS Committee at PHTCCI has been working diligently to bridge the gap between policy and execution, between user and supplier, and between aspiration and action. Today's session is one more important step in this ongoing journey. Our objective is to create platforms for open dialogue, policy clarity, capability mapping, and future collaboration. We're also joined by senior reps from some of the leading Indian defense firms who bring us rich experience and insights from their own engagements with the forces. I look forward to their perspectives as well. Before I conclude, I would like to acknowledge and appreciate the efforts of my secretary, Dr. Nasir Jamal, and his team at the Chamber for bringing all of us together in such a well-curated and sharply focused program. Let the discussions hold strong. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Dudaji. Thank you for the welcome address and setting the tone for the discussion. Sir, it all started when we were discussing internally, and Dudaji was there, and Co-Chair Vaibhavji, that we should focus more on the revenue procurement. The capital procurement side is there, but revenue offers a big opportunity for the Indian MSMEs and startups, and that is how and why we requested for a meeting with you. And this all started, and thank you for giving the opportunity to interact with the industry here, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Now I would like to invite Shri Vaibhav Gupta, the co-chair of the PHDCCI Defense and HLS Committee and Director MKU Limited, to kindly give the theme address for the conference.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, sir. It's a privilege to address this important session on revenue requirements of the Indian Army. As we advance towards Atmanirbhar Bharat, revenue procurement, though often overshadowed by capital acquisitions, is emerging as a critical enabler for opportunities, continuity, logistics, resilience, and day-to-day readiness of our armed forces. While capital procurements often gain public attention due to their scale and strategic influence, sustenance programs, many of which fall under revenue procurement, not only ensure uninterrupted support to our troops, but also present attractive opportunities for the industry as potential revenue generating avenues within the defense sector. Today's interaction is not merely an exchange of perspectives, but a call for collaboration. It is an opportunity to align industry's capability with these armies' dynamic needs, streamline procurement processes, and forge enduring relationships. Together, let us elevate revenue procurement into a robust pillar of our defense preparedness, driven by trust, innovation, and a shared responsibility to serve those who serve the nation. The Defense Procurement Manual, last updated in 2009, remained unchanged until the draft DPM 2021, which was introduced as a reform and by the Indian MOD. Historically dominated by the ordnance factory boards and DPSUs, the system offered limited scope for private participation, functioning within a closed legacy-bound structure. 2021, in 2021, corporatization of OFBs into 7 DPSUs was a step towards greater efficiency and competition. But traditional challenges remain, particularly the carryover of legacy indents, which continue to tie up budgets and restrict new entrants. Delayed deliveries and non-competitive pricing from DPSUs further affect procurement agility. As these legacy pipelines dry out, the time is right to mainstream Indian private industry through open competitive bidding in revenue procurements. The draft DPM 2021 must now be revised and formally released, ensuring a level playing field that recognizes both DPSUs and private firms equally as Indian industry. Only then can the private sector fully align with the ambitions of Make in India strategic partnerships and the IDDM framework. The current revenue defense budget for FY 24-25 is 2.8 lakh crores, approx 55% of the total defense budget. Of this, over 50,000 crores annually is being spent on recurring logistics, maintenance, spare parts, and repairs. Private sector participation remains under 20% of this space, despite growing capability and intent. However, the industry partners do face certain challenges which include opaque vendor base. The DPM doesn't encourage long-term vendor development from private players. Vendor selection through nomination. Classically, a large number of scaled items have previously defined source nominations as OF/DPSUs, restricting issue of tender by nomination only to one vendor without adequate opportunity/competition, leading to procurement at exorbitant rates. Rigid L1 system, limited technology integration. MSMEs offering digital predictive maintenance tools with upgradation rarely get shortlisted, while outdated DPSU solutions are preferred due to the defined procurement. Procedural friction, cumbersome documentation, inspection norms, and delayed payments deter private investment. The opportunities in hand are GEM portal integration has opened up procurement to a far wider vendor base, including thousands of MSMEs. Products like drones, sensors, battlefield management software, rugged electronics, autonomous maintenance kits developed by startups are directly usable in revenue procurement technologies. MRO sector is perhaps the most fertile ground for private players in revenue procurement. With a shift towards performance-based logistics and fleet lifecycle management, private players can offer faster turnaround time, predictive maintenance solutions, digitally traceable repairs and spares. AI-powered diagnostics, IoT-driven inventory tracking, and QR-enabled supply chains can be integrated into revenue procurement. Startups and MSMEs are already innovating. What they need is a gateway into the system. We can learn from global standards like this, like the ones in US. The DoD in US, where over 50% of their sustenance contracts are with private players under streamlined other transaction authorities. And in Israel, where private industry maintains a symbiotic relationship with the IDF, operational logistics on demand and modular. India can emulate, adapt, and lead and with similar initiatives and bring about a paradigm shift. Our key recommendations through PSD chambers to the MGS branch are to accelerate institutionalize private sector participation in defense procurement, revenue procurement. The following strategic interventions proposed are: revamp the DPM. While the DPM has evolved, several structural barriers to private participation still remain. The draft DPM 2021 should be revised formally and released with explicit provisions that enable a level playing field for the Indian industry, whether DPSU or private. Key changes that should include are private rate contracts. Allow rate contracts with private vendors for high frequency and MRO categories, not just with DPSUs. Startup and MSME fast track. Create a dedicated simplified procurement route for dedicated startups and MSMEs. offering innovative or niche solutions. Digitize acceptance process. Simplify and digitize the inspection and acceptance for low-risk categories to reduce procedural drag. Active handholding from policy to practice. Policy reform must be matched with institutional support. Active engagement by the services and procurement agencies is vital to bridge the policy practice gap. Suggested initiatives include vendor familiarization workshops, pre-RFP consultations, technical mentorship cells, decentralized trials, delegate field trials to lower formations to for faster product evaluation and validation. The third is institutional enablers. To ensure systematic onboarding and capacity building of private players, Defense Revenue Vendor Development Cell set up dedicated cells under each command or service headquarters to identify, guide, and support new age private sector. MSME only procurement corridors. Reserve select low-cost, high-frequency procurement segments exclusively for GEM registered MSMEs with Indian origin IP. Revenue Procurement Innovation Fund. Establish a fund to test and trial emerging solutions like IAI-based diagnostics, rugged packaging, alternative maintenance tool, or decentralized inventory systems. The private sector, especially MSMEs and startups, are not peripheral players anymore. They are strategic allies in our pursuit of operational excellence. Let us, therefore, with shared vision and determination, open the gates wide to the private industry, not just in capital acquisitions, but in every bolt, screw, sensor, and service that keeps the soldier battle ready. Jai Hind. Thank you.
Thank you, Vaibhavji. Very, very important points. I think a lot of important points, a lot of things are noted also by our MGS branch officers. The very, very vital points like private sector participation, DPM revision, MRO, the area of MRO to be more exploited by the private sector, simplified procurement rules, revenue vendor development cell also. So we think we will submit these points also to the MGS branch in writing. Thank you so much, Vaibhavji. Now, the chief guest for the day and to present a keynote address, I would like to invite Lieutenant General Amardeep Singh Aujla, PVSM, UISM, YSM, SM, VSM, Master General Sustainers, Indian Army. Sir has been very, very forthcoming when we met him, and I think very, very pro-industry also. We look forward to hearing from him some of the important points for the Indian defense industry. Sir.
Yeah, very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. A special good morning to my mentors who are sitting here, General Bakshi, General Jaga. You know, they say that the strength of a nation lies in its industry, on how powerful, how robust the manufacturing ecosystem is. And that defines the true character of a country, a nation. And this is what we are expecting from each one of you who's sitting here. The Chambers of Commerce, such a wonderful history, such an illustrious history of more than a century, 120 years, from the time that you came into being in 1905 to where you are today. The achievements and the accomplishments itself, they speak volumes of what you've contributed towards the nation building. And we are so proud of, so very proud of you. Of course, from the Army's perspective as well as from the perspective of the nation as such. You are the people who are dealing at the grassroots level. You are the ones who have national and international linkages. You are the people who have promoted the industry, the trade and the entrepreneurship in the country. And that is why you enjoy a stature which is existing today. I consider myself extremely fortunate, privileged to have got this opportunity to come and interact with the very best in the environment, the top-notch reps of the industries, I think, the best of the innovators and the economic visionaries, so as to say. Now, the topic which was given to me was, of course, it has been elucidated much in detail on the revenue procurement, because that's the mandate that I am holding. That's the mandate that where my responsibility lies. And I spend about 25,000-30,000 crores every year just looking after the revenue, because the single most important facet which is aligned with me is to ensure that I keep the Indian Army battle-worthy at all times. So along this mandate, comes the sustenance part, which is a challenge by itself. So when we look at, the next about 20-25 minutes is what is available? Okay, good. So what I intend sharing is, if we are looking at an Indian Army which is modern, which is agile, which is adaptive, which is technology enabled, which is resilient, and which is self-reliant for the future, then the mere fact of valor, grit, courage is only one part. But the bigger part is the sustainability, and the sustainability is in terms of the the equipment, the spares, the manufacturing, the productivity, the surge, the capacities that we have within the country, and it is about cutting edge logistics, very resilient supply chains, and the biggest of everything is a kind of a bond between the armed forces and the Indian industry. That has to be the foremost factor. And like the previous speakers mentioned, capital procurements, capital acquisitions like the tanks, the missiles, or the platforms, they hog the headlines, they hog the media, and they get the limelight because of the virtues of the large or the enormous amounts. But the pulse of the Indian Army is actually driven by the revenue requirements, by the revenue procurements. So while we may not be so glamorous in our approach or nature, but I'm sure we can certainly contribute a huge amount when it comes to attaining victory is concerned. And that is what defines revenue procurements in a nutshell. The global landscape, ladies and gentlemen, today is changing, and it is changing at a very fast pace. It is moving towards technology-driven dominance. Conflicts are now being fought on multi-domain battle spaces where AI, where cyber, where space, and where robotics are defining the military supremacy and the military superiority. So when we look at the industry, we are looking at our industry to be able to develop and deploy, next gen or cutting edge solutions which can give us victory in tomorrow's battlefield. And that is where the role of each one of you comes in, and that is where the Indian industry, steps in. So we are not looking at vendors. We are looking at partners. We are looking at strategic allies. Allies who can innovate with us. Allies who can scale with us. And allies who can stay and stand by us during peace and war. That is the type of combination that we are looking at. And from the industry, ladies and gentlemen, we are looking at developing an ecosystem where from designing to prototyping to manufacturing to distribution to transportation, you name a thing, and everything is under one particular kind of a procedure, a common kind of a policy. That is what we are looking at in the times to come, from the present as we embark on a journey to the future. But before I proceed any further, it will be essential on my part to actually share with you as to what is the Indian Army's predicament. And that predicament, ladies and gentlemen, is in terms of the diverse operational environment and the very diverse deployment pattern that we have. When we look at the threats for which we have to remain prepared, they are in the conventional domain, the sub-conventional, those related with the physical part, that is concerning law and order, and those which unfold as out of area contingencies, inclusive of our UN commitments and responsibilities. And you dovetail it with the multi-spectral deployment pattern that we have. We are deployed in the Siachen, in heights more than 20,000 feet. And then you come down right till the south, the amphibious regions. So from the glaciated areas to the high altitude, to the mountains, to the jungles, to the plains, to the deserts, to the riverine, to the built-up areas, and the amphibious. That is the spectrum. And each of these areas, why I'm highlighting is that each of these areas demands a unique, a special kind of a requirement, a special kind of a store. The equipment, what is required in Siachen is not what is required in the deserts. What is required in the deserts is not what is required in possibly the jungles or the mountains, and likewise the other combinations. So we have a huge or a bloated kind of an inventory which we have to maintain. We have to maintain stocks at multiple levels because the lines of communication and the extent of the country is so huge, and those lines of communication are underdeveloped. And then you talk about the costs which come about in, transportation, distribution, inventory management, stocking, and so on and so forth. And last but not the least is the turnover and the shelf life management which has to go into place. If things are to be utilized and they are to be wasted, there has to be a cycle, there has to be a methodology which has to be put into place. So these are essentially the terms of reference under which we have to operate. So what is Indian Army looking at? When we talk about the revenue procurements, what are we looking at? We are looking at from the industry, state-of-the-art, smart and intelligent solutions for us, whether it is related to equipment, whether it is related to the sustenance, whether it is related to maintenance, whether it is related to clothing, whether it is related to anything else. And that's why we've got certain focus areas. While, again, it is a plethora of these, but some of the important ones are in the realms of your protection, your lethality. It is in mobility, it is in communication, it is in ISR, it is in command and control systems, it is in cyber, it is in space, and not to forget the logistics, because that's one of the main charters that I have to handle. So these are certain focus areas. But to make or to manifest the things in the desired manner that they are required, in terms when we talk about the revenue procurement or the revenue expenditure per se, gentlemen, it cannot happen unless there is a convergence. And when we talk about the convergence, which is a very, very essential parameter, we are talking about convergence on 4 pillars. The first pillar of convergence is between the users as to what are we looking at. What are those problem statements? How do we define them? How do we actually make them get understood by the people who have to manufacture? What are the procedures and policies which are associated with that? The second is the R&D base or the R&D hubs or the innovation centers who have to give us those new gen or next gen solutions, who have to work continuously to be ahead of the curve. The third is the manufacturing sector, because if we have got a desire, if we have got the new gen kind of practices which have to be put into place, then somebody has to give it a shape, and that is where the manufacturing industry comes into play. So that's the third very important vertical for us. And the fourth, of course, are the policy makers. Unless we have policies which are aligned to our industry, unless we ensure that the ecosystem, whether they are startups or they are MSMEs or whatever, unless they are supported, unless we become friendly, unless we promote, things will not happen. If things are to be controlled by people who hardly understand as to what the desire or what the need is, we'll still be groping in the dark. There are a lot of things which have to happen. The DPM has to get revised. We've been at it for the last 2 years. And similarly, the other practices also, they have to, come about in a manner that they support the industry, the indigenous part. It shouldn't happen that, a few years down the line, Atmanirbharta remains a slogan. While self-reliance is definitely the need of the hour, and that's what we are looking at. And many things have happened, and many good things have happened. But to scale it up to the level where not only does the country see the difference, the entire globe sees the difference, I think there's a lot of distance which still needs to be covered. That's the challenge. So I'll just share a few examples in terms of when we talk about the revenue procurements as to what is that we are looking at. And the first one automatically, which defines the army's war waging or the war fighting capacities, capabilities and the potential is, gentlemen, one single factor, and that's ammunition. Ammunition which has changed or which has revolutionized the modern warfare. Ammunition which has changed the war fighting practices, the way we are fighting wars today. And we are also following these, these ammunitions very closely, the new generation or the next gen or the cutting edge ammunitions. But what is the type of investment that we are doing in these? Hardly anything. Because largely the focus remains on the present. Our focus towards the future is minimalistic. Every time I hit the industry, every time I visit a place, the first thing I ask them is as to what quantum of your revenue do you spend in R&D? And I'm always disappointed because the figures which are quoted are so dismal that we cannot, at times it seems that possibly we in the army are fantasizing on things which can never happen because we are not investing in the ideal kind of a manner in the way how things should be happening. And the only thing where we can possibly make the difference is in case we are able to invest in the research and development programs of ours. And we have to be very, very sincere about this particular approach of ours. So, when we talk about ammunition, there are a whole lot of people who are sitting here, and there are a whole lot of people who come and visit my office, and they are wanting, they've got pockets, and they're wanting to invest in manufacturing of ammunition. And they ask me as to which are those avenues and which are those domains and which are those segments where we should invest. But largely, when you make them understand, most of the focus lies only in the present part. So when we touch base on the hypersonics, when we touch base on the electromagnetic railgun, when we talk about the loiter, when we talk about the network, when we talk about the smart, when we talk about the precision guided munitions or the directed energy weapons, or ammunition with programmable fuses, or ammunition which has better propulsion systems, or the non-lethal or the green with better materials, there are hardly any takers. But if we have to proceed and if we have to progress and if we have to scale the areas which we are desirous of, then, ladies and gentlemen, we have to invest. We have to invest in these technologies. If you are investing, and that's why my proposition to them always is that you invest 40% in the present, but you look at 60% for the future. When you are looking at revenue procurements, apart from what gets into the army from the capital side, you have to remain ahead of the curve to give us solutions which not only benefit or enhance the combat effectiveness of the Indian Army, but you should be looking at the global needs as well. So this is just about the ammunition. When you talk about the another segment of general stores and clothing, right from a uniform to the footwear to everything which is around us in terms of spares, in terms of equipment, in terms of platforms, in terms of assemblies, sub-assemblies. Here again we are looking at the latest of the technology coming in. And this is where you people have to invest and indulge in. From being cost effective, to having capacities which are aligned to the needs of the nation, to, the quality that you produce, to the timelines which need to be adhered, to the competitiveness which has to come in, whether it is cooperation versus competition or it is cooperation and competition is for you people to take a call. But at the end of the day, we as users, we are looking at our equipments and our sustainability in a matrix which is absolutely top-notch. There is no scope of any kind of dilution whatsoever when it comes to quality. When we are not succumbing to the fact or we are not compensated in terms of the operational needs of ours, where the soldier picks up a weapon, follows the orders, follows the direction, fully knowing that he may not get back, I am indebted, and it is my moral duty to ensure that I give him the very best. We've been part of the system for the last 37 years, and I feel very strongly about this particular fact. You know, this is a place where, ladies and gentlemen, you cannot override the profit margin factor with the quality. Your quality should be defining your existence. Your quality should be defining the products that you are manufacturing, and your quality should be defining as to what you give to the Indian Army. Should you want to make profits, possibly, you can also, you know, diversify in a manner that you can take it from somebody else, but at least spare the people in uniform. We are working, or we are doing something for the national cause. You have to rise to the level, you know, where you support us in each and every endeavor of ours. So from breathability to, you know, AI-driven apparel, clothing, adaptive armor, to, you know, the very best in terms of equipment, in terms of metallurgy, in terms of ammunition, in terms of anything that you talk about is what comes under, you know, the general stores and clothing. When we talk about R&D, why I'm emphasizing on this particular factor is because, you know, through the R&D is what we are looking at are performance enhancements, our advancements in performance, be it cost, be it reliability, be it safety parameters, be it testing and prototyping, be it formulation of the regulatory compliances, or be it, you know, seeking tailor-made, customized solutions which are specific to the nature for what they are being desired. When I gave you that example as to what is required in Siachen is not what is required in the plains or in the deserts, I'm talking about that customization. That is what is required from the industry. And I'm also looking at a capability that this industry should have at the end of the day, that even if we are in a conflict, you should be able to give me a solution based on my requirement within the earliest possible time frame. So that is the level of investments in R&D that has to happen. So with 2-3% of investment of the overall revenue, things will not happen unless you invest, you know, 25, 30, 40%. That is the scale, or that is the quantum, or that is the magnitude that we are looking at. If we have to reach and possibly look at developing products which are absolutely high-end. Then we're talking about the manufacturing or the private industry which you represent, and where we seek a very strong kind of a bond, a very strong kind of a relationship to develop. Because through the industry, we are looking at investing in R&D. Through the industry, we are looking at, you know, quality. Through industry, we are looking at, you know, giving us those tailor-made solutions. Advancements in technologies which are related to manufacturing, the techniques. Through the industry, we are looking at enhancing our capabilities. Through industry, we are looking at training ourselves. You are the people who are imbibing and have the best of the practices, whether it is related to supply chain, or whether it is related to logistics, or it is related to, you know, the manufacturing per se. The integration of the logistic platforms. Through the industry, we are looking at things like digital transformation. When we look at and we talk about that the new technology has to come in, and we say that AI and machine learning, blockchain technologies, robotics, automation, digitalization, you know, enhancing the cyber security, the resilient supply chains. These are practices which you people have over a period of time matured within your own systems. We just want to align, and based on the customization that has to be brought in to suit our requirements, is what there has to be this kind of a bonhomie which has to be maintained, which has to be, you know, put into place. So that's the type of synergy that we are looking at from the private industry. And when we have a vision that we have to be a net exporter of certain things, categories are phenomenal, categories are enormous, categories are numerous. But if we have to be the net exporter, then you are the people who have to be, as the manufacturers, give us that quotient where we become the net exporters, of course, after taking care of our own needs. So that is the type of requirements, and that is the type of an association or a relationship that we are looking at between the armed forces and the private industry, and that is where you have to, scale up to do many things in a better kind of a manner. So while everything is not what gets offloaded to you, there are a large number of things which have to actually start the journey from us. So we've also put certain initiatives into place. We've got this new sustenance policy we've just rolled out, just more than a year back. So every capital contract that gets signed today is also accompanied by a revenue contract in terms of its sustenance for the entire shelf life, which gets renewed, after 7-10 years, whatever gets decided. So the OEM is very much a part of the system throughout the entire journey, whether it becomes a legacy platform or it's still its obsolescence management or whatever. But the OEM remains a part of the system for its maintainability, for its serviceability, and the sustenance part. The second issue is about the long-term buys. Every contract that today is being signed in the MGS branch as part of the revenue procurement, ladies and gentlemen, is over a period of 7 to 10 years. And this is just to cater for the industry needs in terms of minimum order quantities or the EOQs, the economic order quantities. And we give you a visibility over a period of 7 to 10 years. I think it is a step in the right direction. It is to help you out. We are getting in touch with you to make a very friendly kind of an atmosphere and an environment to do business with. In terms of right from the time that we formulate our RFPs to the pre-bid meetings, the pre-trial meetings and the trials which get conducted, and even if there are certain things which need to be balanced out, we are pretty open to it. And thereafter, formulation of the trial directives or the test procedures, we are absolutely on board. But there has to be a reciprocal kind of an arrangement from either side. So that is why I said that there are certain things which possibly, at the end of the day, it is the ignorance and the factor of not being able to reach out in the rightful manner is what, curtails or curbs the industry in a large fashion, particularly when I talk about the MSMEs, particularly when I talk about the startups. And that is the ecosystem, that is the foundation. Unless the MSMEs and the startups, they become strong, they become resilient, they become robust, the Indian defense industry is not going to make, inroads in the manner that we desire. They say that the strength of a building lies in its foundation. And the foundation for us when we talk about on business matters is actually the MSMEs and the startups. And that is the ecosystem which has to support us. And that is where the strength of each one of you lies. So while there are smaller players, there are medium players and the larger players, the smaller and the medium players are what need to be, taken along. They are the people who are to be guided. They are the people whose hand is to be held and held tight. So what I'm trying to say is that from our side also, we are trying to make, endeavors to reach out. And that is where we are pushing the policy makers to make amends with this DPM 2021, so that it comes out, faster. And particularly this para 2.4.8, which forbids us from not moving away from the OEM. And the OEM for us, 80% of our goods today are being supplied by the DPSUs. We want a level playing field. We want open tendering. We want to move away from captive sourcing to participative and competitive tendering. So that is the requirement. So while endeavors are on, the Indian system is such that by the time it gets the traction, it takes a little while. So we are in that period of transition. But very soon, I think we should be, in fact, you people should be able to see some kind of a change, some kind of a environment which suits your requirements. While you people are business people, you've got business interests in mind, we are the users. I am the final end, subscriber of the product that gets manufactured or gets produced by you. So it has to be also aligned to my needs. So it has to be a very fine balance and a very fine mix on what we desire and what gets produced. At the end of the day, it should not happen that what you produced is what is thrust upon us. It has to be a user-driven market and not a vendor-driven market. That is how we look at things. But then it has to be a combination. It has to be a reflective and a very, I would say, a deliberate kind of an, interactive kind of a mode which has to be followed if we have to see the light of the day in the manner that we look at things happening. If you have to scale up and reach levels which possibly we've never reached before. So that is the type of arrangement that we are looking at. And ladies and gentlemen, suffice to say that technology, our biggest strength today has to be technology. Is there a dearth of potential and acumen and the aptitude within the country? No. Is there a dearth of direction? Is there a dearth of speed? Is there a dearth of something which hinders our capacities and capabilities to manufacture and develop? I think there are question marks there. We need to address. Everyone sitting in this house knows as to what is his strength and what is his weakness and what are the opportunities which are available in the open in the environment today. We are sitting in the MGS branch while we are trying to open ourselves, but anybody and anyone is most welcome to walk in. We'll share our problem statements with you and you have to give us the solutions. The other day when this entire team was there in my office, I gave them a proposal as well. I told them that I would be the happiest in case, I could have a co-chair sitting in my office itself, where I could offload my, day-to-day requirements. And they could be the ones who could be offering me solutions. They could be the ones who could be aligning and telling me and guiding me as to which are the places where we need to touch base to get a particular kind of a result. So that's the type of relationship that has to be blended in our system. And I can just about say that everything that we do, gentlemen, has to be with a certain amount of sincerity. There has to be sincerity of purpose in every step that we take, every act that we do, every product that gets produced. There has to be sincerity because you are dealing with people who are dealing with life and death. There is no compromise anywhere in between. There is no line in between. I wish there was a line. But unfortunately, there isn't. And we are proud that there isn't a line in between because our focus is very, very clear. And I'm also aware of the fact that there are a lot of apprehensions which are there in the industry today in terms of, the bureaucratic hurdles, in terms of unpredictability, in terms of the transparency which currently exists. And that is how, certain corrective actions, certain changes, certain revisits have been done in terms of the GEM portal which has come about, in terms of the innovative challenges or innovation challenges which have come about. And it is in terms of, the Department of Indigenization which is part of the MGS branch. It has been revamped, it has been restructured, and you will find a very visible kind of a change in their approach when it comes to handling the Srijan portal and the aspects related to indigenization. And of course, we are going in for open tendering in most of the cases. In fact, I'll go a step further just to ease out and get the best of the things where the confidence or the rapport has been maintained. We've started accepting things on GM certification, where the QA part, the quality assurance part has been put to a side. But that can only happen in case you give me a confidence or you give the services a confidence. But where that confidence has been developed, we are pretty good to go. And that is exactly what is happening on ground. So let's make things which are, or in fact from our side, You know, the bottom line for when we interact with the industry is that we give you faster decisions, where, you know, we bring about a great amount of transparency in our system, where procedurally we become supportive in our approach, and at the end of the day, you know, it is ease of business which should define the relationship that we develop. So at the end, I can just about say that while the global dynamics are changing, India is also changing, and so is the army. So when we are changing and we've got boots on ground, we want equal boots on ground on the shop floor as well. And that is where each one of you represent your respective shops. Let's not walk separately. Let's march together. Let's be comrades in capability development. Let's be the co-creators of a very secure, a very robust, and a very dynamic India of the future. I'm telling you, the military power of India as far as future is concerned will no longer get decided only in the boardrooms or the operational rooms. It will now get decided in the R&D labs, on the testing grounds, and on the potency of the industry that each one of you represents. The race for technologies or the technological supremacy has begun, and India can ill afford to be a mere spectator, a mere passenger, or just a participant. You are the people who have to take up the challenge. You are the people who have to lead the charge and come out tops. And therefore, the final statement, it's a clarion call for everyone, starting with me, to you as the industrial representatives and the industrial leaders, and of course, the policymakers in some capacity, that we have to rise. We have to step up, and we have to deliver for the national cause. And in that national cause, the revenue procurements and the sustainability part is extremely, extremely, extremely important. Thank you so much. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for the wonderful speech, sir. And I think you touched upon all the important points. The industry was very, very, patiently listening to all these points which you have discussed today. And thanks for inviting our chamber, sir, to your office to discuss all the problem statements, and we'll be finding out solutions within the industry, the capabilities which exist within the country, sir. And certainly we'll have to race for the technology, as the race has already begun. And thank you so much for all the points, sir. This is wonderful. We have noted down, and we'll be submitting a formal recommendation also from our side, from the industry side. But this is very, very, I think, encouraging for all of us to listen to you, sir. And now I would like to invite our co-chair, Shri M.K. Gupta ji, to kindly give the formal vote of thanks for the inaugural session.
Honorable Lieutenant General Amar Singh Aujla ji, PVSM, UYSM, YSM, SM, VSM, Master General Sustenance, Indian Army, distinguished speakers and dignitaries, industry, ladies and gentlemen. It is my honor and privilege to propose the vote of thanks on behalf of PhD Chamber of Commerce of Industry, Defense and LHS Committee. This morning session has been immensely insightful and inspiring. We are deeply grateful to Lieutenant General Aujla for sparing his valuable time and enlightening us with the Indian Army's vision and evolving requirements under revenue procurement. Your address, sir, has been truly encouraged Indian industry to align itself with the national priorities and be an integral part of the Army's sustenance and modernization. It was really, really inspiring, sir, eye-opening, encouraging. Sir, as you had mentioned, and we are really grateful, this is the first time we are hearing in the industry chambers. Let us work out the way forward to involve the chambers and work closely with our industry partners along with your office. Thank you very much. We are grateful. I would also like to extend my sincere thanks to our chair, Mr. Rudra Shriram, co-chair, Shri Vaibhav Gupta, for laying out the vision and context of today's dialogue so thoughtfully. Their commitment to promoting the Indian ecosystem is commendable. A special note of appreciation to our event partners, MKU, DCM Shriram, Zen Technology, IDP Industries for their support and continued contribution to Indian defense preparedness. I would also like to acknowledge Dr. Nasir Jamal and PhD CCI Secretariat team for their consistent efforts in planning and executing today's program seamlessly. In conclusion, today's session marks another important event in strengthening the synergy between Indian Army and Indian defense industry. Let us carry forward this momentum to create more robust, self-reliant and responsive supply chains that truly serves the nation. Thank you for all your presence and participation, sir. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I think before we conclude, we can take one or two questions from the audience for the MGS or the officers sitting here. Only selective questions. I think, yeah, we can start with him. I would request anyone to please pass on the mic. Yunuswa, I'll come to you.
Good morning, sir. I'm Ravi Agrawal from Macromancy. We are manufacturing ground penetration radars and ultrasonic vibration detection. Sometimes, sir, industry need a vision to invest in R&D. And without a vision, we cannot invest at 25% of our revenue. So my question is that, do you have any list made for the Viksit Army, for a Viksit Bharat for 2047? So we can take leave out of them and we can invest in the R&D in that particular kind of products.
Yeah, thank you. There's definitely a vision that we have, and it incorporates all these aspects. One of the aspects that you just mentioned, ground penetrating radars as well, or the foliage penetrating radar. It definitely finds a mention there. Particularly when I look at it from the revenue procurement, it is not in my mandate. It is part of the capital procurement which is there. And when we look at, the investment as far as technology is concerned, there are various programs under the IDEX or the R&D which give you this kind of an arrangement where you can take or seek help from us, partial funding, and at times, I don't know, there are also provisions which can give you 100% funding also, where you can embark on this journey, where you can do the R&D based on our requirements. And once you manufacture a prototype and thereafter it is put to use and the trials happen, and if we find them or if we find it suitable enough for its absorption, I think there are provisions where we can align with you for the bulk production thereafter. So the provision is definitely there. What you need to do is actually, come to the right people which we can guide you, and they can let you know as to what is the way ahead. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Colonel Trehan.
So, very good morning, sir. Colonel Umang, sir. I'm from MKU, and I've been in the MGS branch. I'm an ex-ordnance officer. So I understand the peculiarities, but then sincerely would like to compliment the last 2-3 years that I've seen after I've quit, and seen the developments that have happened in the MGS branch, be it in terms of product improvement or bringing in platform level MROs into the gambit and showcasing them. So my query is...
I hope we were not waiting for you to quit and then take charge.
So I think the RFI came out during my last phase, so I think they weren't waiting for that. Coming back to the question specific, sir, post the corporatization, has there been understanding internally, now that the grandfathering portion also is almost coming to an end, to review the entire source identification for items which are which were nominated for the DPSUs, and open that as a competitive kind of arrangement for further procurement, because majority of these items have source marked as DPSUs, and since that becomes an impediment for the procuring agency to go in for competitive bidding. So that can be one of the reviews in case somebody's reviewing that inside. And alongside, sir, while MRO of Tank T72 has definitely been a major push, are we considering other platforms? And as a suggestion, can we have a separate inclusion of MROs in the DPM revision that we are proposing, sir?
Yeah, so you'll find definitive kind of a change when this DPM gets revised. And answering your first question, very much. Hereafter, we are not looking at any kind of a distinction between a DPSU and a private player. We are looking at a level playing field where everyone should be open for a participation, and it will be a competitive thing which will happen, and the best man wins. The only changes that we are incorporating, or which we have, that is what we've suggested and recommended, is that even within this, depending upon the type of equipment or the product that is being shaped, it will be on a case-to-case basis, is the apportionment which also takes place. So that, that there are 3 to 4 or 4 to 5 or 5 to 6 people who remain in the fray and are able to, produce what we desire, because the numbers are slightly on the higher side, and then everyone does not get restricted by the capacities or the capacity verification per se. So that is one particular thing that is definitely you will find an amend. On the second portion, in terms of the platforms, while we've started to gauge the industry and assess and analyze as to how can such things also happen, because they are cost intensive and even the numbers are restrictive. So we are not wanting people, to indulge and jump into the fray where the requirement dries up after a little while. So where I'm able to give an assurance of about 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, there definitely we are wanting that people should, invest in. But where the scope is limited only to 5, 7, or it is just about short term, there we are not encouraging the private sector to pitch in. However, we are encouraging our own public sectors to get into some kind of a JV with the private sector for a short term and ramp up their capacities and capabilities. So that is how the system is likely to unfold.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Captain.
Yeah. My name is Amit Jain. We have a very small unit here in Delhi since 1995. We are into zippers for all kind of garments. But since many years, we have seen probably there's only one company based in Chennai which supplies the entire lot of zippers to the great Indian Army. And we've tried everything, like, writing letters or whatnot. I don't know what's the story behind it. How can you help us? We are a small, very small company, but we have some fantastic machines, and we are supplying to some good exporters, and also some domestic players. And where you talk about, say, uniform or jackets and all, which use various kind of zippers, be it fiber, metal, or XYZ, whatever. So if you can just throw us some light or, some guidance, it will be really nice.
I can understand your concern, but unfortunately, till such time we are guided by this policy of ours, the DPM, we are restrictive in our approach. We are not buying zippers per se or in isolated forms. Everything is a defined kind of a product, of which zipper may also be one of the subsets. So what happens is, when we look at the complete product, that product largely today we are dependent on a particular DPSU, and you are aware about that. It is the Troop Comfort Limited, the TCL, based out of Kanpur, which is dealing with everything. So we have to go back to him. Our contracts, our business deals are with TCL. What TCL does at the back end is possibly, it is very difficult. But should the DPM get revised in the manner that we are looking at, and should this open tendering and open competitiveness and the many other things happen, thereafter we will, of course, our workload will increase, because now we'll have to go, individual for every product that we are seeking. And thereafter, when we go individual and we do the trials and we look at the quality of the product that gets manufactured and is coming part of that open tendering, then of course we'll be looking at the quality part as well. So that is where possibly, so you'll get an opportunity. So just wait and watch. It may or it may not happen.
Thank you, sir. Captain Bhattacharya.
General sir, good morning. Sir, just want to know, we have been given to understand that MOD has declared 2025 is going to be a year of reforms in terms of defense procurement. So keeping that thing in mind, from the DPM perspective, what is your view, sir? Could you expect some major changes in the reforms, policy reforms, sir?
Yeah, we certainly are very optimistic, and you know, the scales are definitely taking a new turn. Our production capacities have changed. I would say the overall ecosystem of development of manufacturing has changed, and because of the geopolitical, you know, the whatever the conditions or the environment are, the demand has also changed within the country and outside. So the scaling up will definitely happen. Year of reforms, you know, it is the same bottle, it is the same wine. How you play around is anybody's guess. As to what I can perceive is the same what possibly you can also perceive. We are into a decade of transformation from 23 to 32 as far as the army is concerned. We've got the year of technology absorption 24-25, which is also running concurrently. We've got this year of reforms, and then we've got Viksit Bharat, 2047. So everything is moving in a very, I would say, a deliberate, a concise, a well thought out plan. But how much of that plan actually manifests in the rightful form is what needs to be seen. And that is where the responsibility on both the users as well as the manufacturers, you know, it comes into play. How much can we support you, and how much can you ramp up your capacities to ensure that you look after the needs, both domestic as well as international. So year of reforms, when we look at things, yes, from the policy point of view, if I have to just give you a little bit of gen, we are looking up, setting up of defense technology acceleration funds for direct kind of grants into niche technologies, into niche R&D. We are looking at fast tracking our regulatory approvals in terms of permits, in terms of licenses. We are also telling the government to put some kind of a regulatory mechanism where, you know, there shouldn't be that there are 50 people making the same particular thing. And it is more applicable when it comes to, you know, the high-end items, the platforms, the ammunition. If I have to just give you an example, 155 ammunition, if you have 10 players in the fray, where the requirement is only, which can be met by about 3-4 of them, what will happen to the other 5-6? The pressure is going to be more on me. The pressure is going to be more on the government. So right at the beginning, why don't we calibrate and give licenses only to the people whom we know that we will be able to keep them in business? So there has to be a regulatory mechanism which has to come into play. So that is the third thing which is happening. Then it is about establishing and setting up incubation hubs related to technologies, related to R&D, related to, you know, many aspects in terms of manufacturing. So these are certain things in terms of the year of reforms that we are looking at. How much can it happen in 365 days is what needs to be told, but it is a start point. You can take it that it is a start point. In years to come, things will definitely happen, and they will unfold for the good and for the better of the country.
Sir, I will not take just one small query, sir, to be very honest. Sir, you have told that technology, of course, remains a very prime requirements, even for the revenue procurements and the developments of the industry on that regards. So, what kind of role do you expect for a foreign OEM in terms of transfer of technology, in terms of, like you made a mention about joint ventures and those kind of co-production, co-developments. Do you envisage the role of the foreign OEMs in this regard, sir?
Definitely. So there are some things which are to be done in quick time based on the operational requirements, because everything is operational. So when we look at the operational part, there are certain things which need to be done in quick time at a faster pace. but you do not have your own indigenous capability or capacity, or nor do you have your own R&D base here. So what do? The best way is to go in for buy. Buy something, get into a JV, but also get the transfer of technology as part of this arrangement, so that after 2 years, 3 years, you are good to go on your own. And then the indigenization content that we've legislated over various scales, comes automatically into play. So the role of foreign OEMs, particularly those which are firstly high-end, which have, scaled, I would say, distances, which will take a lot of time for us to reach there. There is no option but to get them along. But rather than procuring X-import per se, it is the only way out today is, as part of self-reliance, as part of Atmanirbharta, as part of Make in India, is to get that technology here, get them to invest in certain form here, alongside your own companies, and manufacture that product in India. The indigenous part is what is more very, very important. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Rudraji, you want to say something?
I'll take one.
Acha. There's another session also. We can take questions the next one. So, sir, there's one question.
Brigadier Anand Mehra from Swarn Group. At the outset, I'd like to commend you for a wonderful talk that you've given us today. I think it has been one of the finest talks that I've heard over the last 20 years that I've spent with the industry. Very forward-looking and very apt for the moment. Yet, I'd like to say that in spite of all the desires that you have, in spite of all the forward-looking talk that you've given us, the industry does continue to face the same problems that it's been facing for many, many years. I have been evolving with the industry ever since DPP 2005 came. Now, I have a number of issues, but I'll address only one for the time being, and that is the one R&D. Now, when industry has to spend money on R&D, it must have the money. It must be able to generate that money out of the same business for which it is investing in R&D. I don't think it will be possible for most of the industry to invest in R&D out of funds it is generating from some other business. If that be so, this understanding must lie with the defense services also. However, the system is such that at every step, to get business, you've got to reduce your price. Right from the time you bid, there are 4, 5, 6 competitors, so you must be L1 in order to get that business, so you come to a rock bottom price. When it comes to revenue procurement, which is very largely also through GEM these days, you have this phenomenon of reverse auction. I have personally seen that in reverse auction, some companies go so low down that doesn't even meet the raw material cost of my product. Unimaginable. The anomaly is that there is no trial. So when it comes to delivery of that system, he'll give you rubbish. When he gives you rubbish, you somehow manage to work it out with that supplier and you accept the system. So you are actually accepting substandard stuff because of the system. I have live examples where the system offered through RA by another vendor does not even meet my raw material cost. Obviously, there'll be a compromise in quality. Now, in spite of my coming down, had I got that business, maybe I could have spent 1 or 2 or 3% into R&D, but I don't get the business. So, there are many steps. Getting payments. I'm sorry to say, in spite of CFAs being more powerful than the IFA, it is the IFA who governs the recovery of money. Very sad. We don't get payments for months together, and yet we are expected to deliver on time. There are mistakes made in tenders, RFPs, but since they are mistakes that have come into the open, there is no flexibility with the buyer to make even a minor amendment to ease the whole thing out. You know, clerical mistakes happen. Some mistakes happen due to oversight. I think the system should permit such honest mistakes to be rectified. Otherwise, if that mistake becomes gospel and you've got to, you know, meet the requirements in spite of those mistakes, then you run into trouble. Again, I have practical examples of this. You do not get extensions of delivery date for legitimate reasons, and for that reason you don't get your payments, and yet you are expected to manufacture and deliver. Where do small companies get the funds from? They rely on regular input of money to continue to manufacture. And therefore, the amount of squeeze that they face is tremendous. Now this is, you know, I'm actually revolving around the same theme. There are many issues that can be brought out. I request you to pay attention to these aspects because I agree as a soldier, ex-soldier, that R&D must get adequate funding and we must actually come out with the best possible products. Thank you.
Absolutely right.
Thank you.
Absolutely right. Everything what you said, you know, those are the systemic issues that possibly we are facing, you know, day in and day out. Had the budget been given to me as an individual, as a service, which gets allocated in the rightful form from the at the highest level, but thereafter there are many other people who actually take over in ensuring how it is to be, you know, spent or how it is to be utilized. That's the sad part of the system, but that is what defines the Indian system. And that is where the struggle or the endeavor is today, to rectify and resolve and, you know, make it simpler and make it friendly as far as the industry is concerned. And that's why, though it's a question mark, we are hoping for the very best that it happens.
So I think the points raised by Brigadier Mehra echo a lot of similar sentiments in the room. Sir, I think the main, let's say, objective over here is transparency. Whether it comes in the form of more conversation, more deliberation, clarifying certain errors made in certain GSQRs, etc. That transparency leads to a lot. The second point is, sir, the archaic practices of reverse auction cannot work together with R&D and development. Impossible. There is no way. Now, we want to, personally, I wear a couple of different hats, so I get stuck in the middle between industry, policy, and, you know, legacy. R&D has to be driven from the lump sum that is received from certain earnings. But luckily, I have let's say, a diversified industry. I can pull money from somewhere and invest in the R&D, and it's like a pro bono cost. An SME or an MSME is going to put their grandfathers, granduncles, uncles, aunts, full funding into that one R&D program for hope. Now, if those guys get stuck in a reverse auction, that is the all end all of the whole family's, let's say, legacy investment. And that's where the real heartburn and the heartache is coming. While cash flows and things, those will keep improving, and we've been seeing with PCDA and things coming out. I think this point of reverse auction, but then also working on development, it's very counterproductive, and it kind of doesn't, they don't sit in the same room together.
True. Unfortunately, we are the end users. We are the users. We are not the policymakers. Yeah, and that is where, you know, there is a difference of, interpretation. When you get guided by a manual which is 450 pages thick, you can imagine what interpretation actually means. Every line, every word has a different connotation when read by two different people. And that is what, holds us at ransom at most of the times. Much that we want to simplify and much that we want that it should happen in the manner that we look at it from the military perspective. No, there is somebody else who is the guiding factor, and that's why I said, standing there, that there have to be people who are aware about as to what the requirement is. They should be able to understand, only then can things change. If it is left to the hands of people who come on deputations and they start dictating terms just because they have the authority, things won't move. And that is, Sir made a mention about DP extensions. 90% of my time on the table is, spent signing DP extensions. But when it comes to the physical conflict or the physical war, can I tell the adversary, yaar, कि अभी थोड़ा सा रुक जा, मैं जो है इसको DP extension दे दे मेरे को, and we'll come and touch base after about 3 months, 6
Absolutely.
months.
And industry also needs to step up, and we can't. I also have seen, I was going into a R&D cycle, and my chief technical advisor, and I'm not going to obviously name anyone over here from my own team, but it was pretty interesting. They said the end date for the supplies, let's say in November 2027 is when the NCNC trial, the samples have to get. They're like, yeah, but we'll get a 4-month extension. I said, so as industry, we also have to be practical, that we're dealing with, as Sir had said, life and death over here, and we're involved in that. So there is a little bit of seriousness involved in this. So I also do request industry that don't get into a tender with the mindset that you're going to get an extension. That's unfair on the uniform and unfair on the soldier sitting across the table. So I'll speak for both sides here.
Yeah, I can just about give an assurance, and a very, I would say, a sincere assurance that things are changing. And I'm very hopeful that things will change for the good.
So thank you so much. And before we close, sir, you made a point about hypothetically having a co-chair or someone from the secretariat constantly at your office. Sir, I think it's an unprecedented move. And as the chair of the committee, sir, I would appreciate if we can sit down and between your team and my secretariat, if we can hash out a way. It will really be a path-breaking thing if this happens. Our aim as the chamber is to push out what you all require. That's our single driven focus over here. If we can add that transparency and support you all, and I'll be happy to give the rest of my time as chair just to ensure this happens, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Very nice. And a parting statement, one thing that we endeavored in 2023 when this entire business of DPM revision was going on, thereafter it took a little bit of stalling last year, but now again it has gained a bit of traction. What we had told the hierarchy then, and when I'm talking about the hierarchy, it was from the topmost level, was to run the entire DPM, the draft DPM, through the industry. Let the industrial houses touch base, see, study, analyze, assess, give their recommendations, give their suggestions, and they should get incorporated. I don't know how much of it has actually happened, but देखेंगे कोशिश जारी रखेंगे.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for the wonderful sessions, and thank you so much. I would request our chair and coaches to kindly present a memento to the our chief guest, Lieutenant General Amardeep Singh Aujla ji, the MGS Indian Army. I would request and invite Arjun, if you can also come on the dais. Arjun, please up, if you also come on the dais as a co-chair of the committee. A picture. Thank you so much, sir. We have the most important session, which is now coming in another 10 minutes. We have a small break. We have interactive session with which will be moderated by Colonel K.V. Kuber. We'll have discussion on the industry perspective with Major General H.P.S. Hansi, the Additional Director General MGS Branch, Major General Brigadier Bhupender Rekhi, Brigadier Godara, Mr. Arjun Lalturi, Shri Ajay Kumar. We'll start in another 10 minutes, sharp 10 minutes. Which is an interactive session with the MGS branch on some important aspects: the industry perspective on the revenue procurement, the insights into the Indian Army's ongoing and upcoming revenue procurement plans, the discussion on procurement procedures and key focus areas, interaction with the senior Army officials It is also what the industry expectation from the Army and the Army's expectation from the industry. So this session will be moderated by Colonel K.V. Kuber, the Indian Army veteran and the Director Aerospace and Defense, Ernst & Young. Colonel K.V. Kuber, I think, will be. Sir, here. Thank you, sir. So I would request and invite the moderator, if you can kindly come on the stage, sir. A big round of applause for Colonel K.V. Kuber, the dynamic moderator, can moderate anyone and anywhere, any session. Thank you, sir. Then we have key panelists from the MGS branch, Major General HPS Hansi, SM, VSM, Additional Director General, MGS branch, Indian Army, Major General Hansi. We have with us Brigadier Bhupender Rekhi, Brig Import and PCM, MGS Brass, Indian Army. Brigadier Rekhi, he has been very, very instrumental in actually designing this important session. And also request Brigadier Gudara, if I can't say him, he'll also be a part of that discussion. Now I would like to invite Shri Arjun Alturi, the Vice President, Zen Technologies, and the co-chair of the PAG-CCI Defense and HLS Committee, Shri Arjun Alturi. And Shri Dhruv Agarwal, the Executive Director, IDP Industries. Mr. Dhruv Agarwal. Thank you, Dhruv, for joining us. And Shri Ajay Kumar, Vice President, Director, Hughes Precision. I think he'll be joining in some moment. He's in the Indian Army now. Brigadier Godara, I would request and invite you to the dais, please. The whole discussion started with the inaugural session, but all the other questions will be taken by the senior officials from the MGS branch. And they are here on behalf of the MGS to take questions from the industry and also give the remarks on that, the comments on that. I would give the dais, I will hand over to Colonel K.V. Kuber to kindly start this session. Colonel K.V. Kuber.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm running a little low on energy, so after General Aujla's talk, I don't know if we have much to discuss, but then there are some important points that came up in the Q&A and also some other points that I have noted down. I think we will talk about that. So let me start with this. If somebody feels that capital procurement is more flamboyant, you are mistaken. So I'll set that at rest. It is not so. Revenue procurement is a thing that happens year on year, continuously. You just have to get into the chain. If you get into that loop, you are, in that loop generating revenue all the time. Any industry that has come to me in the last about 16 years of my consultancy, and they said, we want to enter into defense, what should we do? So I said revenue procurement. And that was only because ROI is faster. You get into the loop very quickly. You can do small things. You can do medium things. You can do big things. So you can do anything. So therefore, please do not ever relegate revenue procurement to a level that we all think that, it's not so important as capital. Capital has got flamboyance. It has got the DG acquisition to talk about it. It has got the Defense Secretary to talk. The Raksha Mantri will talk about it. Anybody will talk about it because they're big platforms. But each of them takes 7 years, 20 years, sometimes 15 years, sometimes I don't know what. So that whole concept of DAP having that 106 weeks just goes for a toss. So revenue procurement is very important. So ladies and gentlemen, I just want to start with the budget. The revenue procurement budget last year, or this current FY, is 3,11,742 crores. It's a very big number. Now, in this, of course, so many things are there. I'll come to it. Army itself has got 2,07,520 crores in the budget. Stores and works, which is what our senior officers from the MGO branch are going to talk about, MGS branch are going to talk about, is itself 41,143 crores. Last financial year, the budget was 38,387 crores, and I'm very happy to announce, not only they spent the budget, they also borrowed a little from the capital. There is some DCRB, something is there, some capital to revenue, something is there. Even that came into revenue, and therefore there was substantial amount that was spent. So the RE stood at around 38,000 crores. In addition to all this, there is something called other equipment, which is 7,166 crores, which I'll request our ADG to kindly amplify. What is this other equipment, and how are we going to address this other equipment? Where do we look for this other equipment? Other equipment kya hota hai? I mean, we know equipment, we know spares, we know other equipment, something, it's in the budget. I'll request him in his talk, maybe he'll talk about it. And then there is a transportation itself is 5,400 crores. I do not know if this transportation includes buying new vehicles or it is only FOL for the vehicles which are there. I think they will also tell about that. In the capital procurement, the committed liability is close to about 83%. In the revenue procurement, it is far less, and if they have some numbers, they can share. I don't want to share any privileged information that I may have. In the revenue procurement, imports are minimal. In capital equipment, if you see, 75% of the budget is earmarked for indigenous procurement, which means the government has categorically told us that 25% of that 2 lakh plus crores is going away outside the country, which is close to 60,000 crores. Okay? So what you're left with is only about 140 of that, and here we are talking about figures which are slightly bigger. So with this little introduction, I don't want to take too much of time in introduction because I want you to hear from the horse's mouth, and then I'll come to the questions. So I want to give you, sir, if you permit me, some statistics which I have picked up from open source, and we keep doing this on a regular basis. In the last FY, from April 24 to March 25, there were 137 tenders which were on the GEM, okay? And total amount was 15 crores 81 lakhs 65,920 crores. Okay, so there is only for the tenders that come out in the GEM, and I can assure you I have not captured all of them, because anybody who has tried to navigate the GEM, if somebody can do it, I will come and do Shashtang Pranam. That's all I can do, because that is one of the worst websites to navigate, and we do it out of interest. As a consultant, I have no interest in participating, but we do it out of sheer interest of understanding procurement that we do this. Now, when I see out of the 137 tenders, the single tenders values itself was about 335 crores. Out of which, one of the largest tenders, which is the life cycle support contract for LCSC in respect of 15552 caliber something Vajra for 100 numbers, was 330 crores, which went on a single tender to somebody. Okay. Now the question is, we all keep saying, is there an open competition? Why is the MGS branch going on a single tender? Such a huge number. we also should participate. And that's where I think they will come back and they will talk in their opening remarks. They will talk to you and say that we have to be industry ready. And for just lack of that one point of industry readiness, the DPSUs are scoring, high. Now, how do you get industry ready? We'll come to it. I'm going to talk about it. We are going to discuss this and evolve how to get industry ready. Limited tenders were only 4. I mean, I was surprised. Just 254 crores. And open tenders were about 212 crores. The rest of them were open tenders, which is a good thing. So let's not really worry about, that is there an opportunity or opportunity is there. There is a terrific opportunity out of there. 212 open tenders, 960 crores. It's real numbers. These are real numbers. These are not those fictional numbers which you will get in the capital acquisition. Because this conclude fast. Within 1 year, you start getting your payments. Start delivering, start getting your payments. Just remember that. There were 6 RFIs and RFPs which were issued, which are the major ones which I picked up. That is some mini remotely piloted aircraft, some product equipment for Google's in AI terrain, global positioning system, handle GPS, multi-spectral. MSCN, of course, was a very huge contract which is coming up. And 40 mm anti-drone ammunition, manufacture of 40 mm anti-drone. I think they will talk about it as to where are we in this. So, sir, what I'll request you to kindly cover, in this gamut of 41,000 crores that is allocated to the MGS branch, and another 7,166 crores that you have in other equipment, how much is being controlled by the MGS branch? How much is being controlled by the commands? Don't ever forget, because commands are swinging. You go to Northern Command, you go to Eastern Command, and it is swinging there. So there are North Tech, East Tech, all these things are happening. They know the industry well. The army commanders are physically there for 2 days. They stand there with you and all his staff. Everybody is there. So there is a good darshan. You can get a good darshan of the army over there, and you have a field day if you know how to address that. So that is another thing I want to talk about. So with this, I'll request Jan Hansi, so if you can, please.
Okay. Good morning, I'm Jan Hansi. I joined the procurement branch in October. And before that, I commanded an armor division and a mech battalion, so equipment. As far as my charter is concerned, it is procurement. I am responsible for procurement of arms, ammunition, and ISR equipment, surveillance and communication. Also look after the imports for the waivers which we get, like he said, it's been reducing largely. And also the post-contract management. The things what we were talking about, the DP extensions and such like things, which will be covered in detail by Brigadier Rekhi. And then for vehicle specialist clothing, we have Brigadier Gudara, as the ADG was out of stage. As far as the budget is concerned, let me tell you very frankly, there is a complete budget cell in the MGS branch. We went on that, the requirement of the industry as far as what interaction, what way as procurement we can help. I can only say, as far as the budget is concerned, centrally, if we talk about the commands and us, majority or almost more than 80% of the budget is what is being expensed by us, and it's only 20%. For the simple reason that the expertise, the people, the dedication, or the financial advising what we have here as part of the MGS branch is really speaking not available in the commands. Field formations really don't have that kind of a time. They have just one Colonel FP who's there, and maybe there's an IFA and the army commander, that's all. So majority of, and for that also majority of the time they're referring to us. So whatever can be pulled in centrally, even theirs, whatever their equipment they have is done by us centrally. If there is something very special they want to buy, which is specific to the command, specific to terrain, that is where they go. As far as something like he said, other equipment, there is a head called OCPP, which is other capital procurement procedures, which is part of the capital budget. So when he said that revenue is not glamorous, revenue is equally glamorous, and we are also expending or spending certain budget of capital as well, which is called OCPP, where any equipment which is coming. One is you sustain, okay, I have a particular equipment, and I continue to, whatever the deficiency gets generated over a year, it gets reflected, and based on that deficiency, we place the bids, and according to the bid proceeds, and we buy that equipment. We also have been given the power where we can go for any upgradation. Okay, I have a particular type of site. I want to improve that site. It is something new, so that is capital procurement, but it is the powers have been given to the MGS branch. So if there is a refit, there is any upgradation which has to happen, there is any replacement which has to take place. But whatever has to be done, that item has to be scaled. As far as the capital is concerned, they don't go for, they have a scaling, but then it is something new. I want to buy a new tank. I can't do that in revenue. I can sustain an old tank. I can make its site better. I can upgrade its engine. I can go for overall. But if a new tank has to be procured, that goes to the capital procurement. As far as the number of contracts we sign as part of the revenue budget is more than 400. As far as the capital is concerned, I don't think so. I don't know really the figures. I don't know whether they'll be able to cross 40 or this month. But rightly so, because they are bigger contracts, larger amount of money, they have to go in more in depth. So that is what it is. So that is what the revenue thing is concerned. There was a question which was raised regarding interaction with the industry or the hand-holding. The first thing which I wanted to say that, yes, there is a RFP. Before RFP is given, it is what is generated by the line directorate. He's the one who generates an RFP. It is he who works out the specs in with the DGQA. However, when the RFP gets uploaded, there is a pre-bid meeting where the industrialist or the people from the industry or the vendor is called. There have been number of cases which I can state in during my time itself, where if there was something which required a change, like a point was made, if there is a typing error or even changes in specifications, that gets discussed with the vendor and then corrigendums are issued. So at each stage, once the RFP gets loaded, we have a meeting. Once you go for trials, we have a meeting. When there is cost negotiation, we have a meeting. So interaction with the vendor is happening all along. RFP, till the time the contract is signed or the SO is placed, there is n number of opportunities for interaction to happen. There is a laid down procedure where the interaction has to happen. And MGS branch, and with the present MGS, I think we tend to be more than, go much ahead as far as the hand-holding is concerned. If the industry walks 40, we'll walk 60 steps. That's a promise that I can give on behalf of all the officers that we are here. And of course, that mandate is given by the MGS. I think he walks 70 and the industry walks 30. That is the kind of way he has gone ahead. As far as the single tender inquiries are concerned, whatever it is, STs as single tender inquiries are only based on basically, which is on everybody know that 2.4.8, where a DPSU, which is manufacturing a thing specifically for the defense forces, we have to go to DPSU, even if it is open also, and we know there's somebody who's in the industry or the civil, it is available, we cannot. That is a thing which is a policy which has been given. Nobody will give us permission to do that. At times we've been fighting. We say their capacities are full. We require that, but then that is what it is, and that is what is a change that we are looking as far as the DPSUs are concerned. There are certain proprietary industry of, suppose somebody's manufactured something, say like Vajra, they said. No, that is something which is proprietary with L&T. I'm sure everybody knows it. So these are not, again, like what was told, that we are the end users. We follow what is the policy. But our intent is that to put everything on OT because it helps us. A larger vendor base, more competitive pricing. With a single vendor or somebody with on a STE or on a LTE, we have our own issues. We have our disadvantages rather, I would say. That prices quoted by him are his monopoly. Okay, we can't question him much because either he's making it, either you buy it or you do, or there's nobody else, and I can't go to anybody else. So these are certain challenges that we have. As far as the hand-holding is concerned, I'll finish in the beginning. The answer is yes to any question you ask, and we'll be more than forthcoming for anything. What is within our power, and we look forward to an OT rather than going for a ST or a LT. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, General Nancy. I think that was a very positive outlook that you have given. So, as usual, just to tell you all that I've also done some homework. So I'll give a small prelude and then ask a question to Brigadier Ricky. So, I've been seeing this comparison of Indian procurement system with the international procurement system. So, for example, when I compare, and I'm going to compare three things. One is India, US, and EU. So, international defense procurement standards vary across countries, but they generally emphasize efficiency, transparency, strategic capability building. Comparing Rule 135 of the GFR, I want to quote the GFR because I'm going to come again and quote on ERA on GFR, and I want to sort of bring this clearly and concisely that this rubbish of ERA should be done away with. I'm going to come to it. But if you hold on for some time, I'll now talk about this 135. So transparency and competition, India uses GFR 135, which ensures fair competition, but bureaucratic hurdles are so many. And every time we take recourse to that we are a democracy. US is also a democracy. And the FAR, the Federal Acquisition Regulations, they have a strong emphasis on open bidding and vendor accountability. They also have DPSUs. They also have a number of these army owned factories. They have all that. So, but open bidding is there. EU, which is the Defense Procurement Directive, it mandates even cross-border competition, of course, because it is EU, within the fraternity. Speed and flexibility, procurement process India can be said to be slow because of the multi-layered approvals. Now, I want to come to that point of multi-layered approvals. In a while I'm coming to it. US and NATO, they have faster acquisition models, especially for urgent defense needs. Russia and China, more centralized, allowing rapid procurement. China is way ahead, whether we like them, we don't like them, we can't ignore them. Indigenous development. India encourages domestic manufacturing, but implementation challenges are so many. We have not been able to say, okay, if I'm procuring a particular spare, should the indigenization be on the cost or should it be on the number of subsystems components? Supposing a particular spare has got 100 components, I would say, if you have done 70 of it, I don't care about the cost because something is not available, it's not available. But when we see the cost, it flips because those become very critical. So can we do a system analysis and take this forward? This is the second one. Russia and China, they have heavy reliance on state-controlled defense enterprises, which is what we don't want, of course. And emergency procurement, there is an emergency procurement, I think last 2-3 times, EP4, I think on an average 18 to 20,000 crores have been spent. I think it was a good move. EP1, EP2 were excellent. When it came to EP3 and EP4, can somebody tell me, Arjun, can you tell me what happened in EP4 or EP3? No? Can you tell? Anybody in the audience, can you tell what happened in EP3 and EP4? Yes, sir. No. Anybody? Yeah, yes, sir. Sir, what happened in EP4? No, sir. I am coming to a very important point. No delays. Everything was fine. After EP2, the non-stakeholders, you understand who the non-stakeholders are? Who've got nothing to do with war fighting. You know them? Do you know them? If you don't know them, please visit the South Block. Number of them sitting there. They don't have any stake in the procurement. They said, "Nee, bhai, how can emergency procurement be done only by the armed forces? IFA has to come in. You have to do with IFA." They somehow, the defense finance, introduced this IFA, FA, into the whole system. Okay? And Therefore, they wanted to have a control over what reasons do they give? Whatever you said. The warfighter knows when he is doing it. So anyway, I'll leave it at that. I'm coming to it. And US has got a rapid acquisition program, and EU and NATO also streamlined their processes. So, Brigadier Ricky, I just want to come to you because you're dealing with A vehicles, B vehicles, spares, clothing, this, that, everything, anything that affects the soldier. So, would you like to say as to how are we going to navigate this system of removing multi-layered approvals?
Hello. May I, sir?
Sir, please.
Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to thank the PhD Chambers of Commerce, especially Mr. Weber, Mr. Nazir, who've been throughout the planning stage and given us this opportunity to interact with the industry, which we always look forward to. But we require such platforms at times where there will be no holds barred, and with a moderator like Colonel Kuber, you can understand the difficulty which we guys will be facing. I'll come straight to my appointment and what can I do for you? Let's come to brass tacks. So my office used to be called the BRIG PPO. It was the Procurement Progressing Organization. So we've done a bit of restructuring, what MGS was talking about, and this is one of the major restructuring which was done. Now it's called BRIG Imports and Post-Contract Management.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Now, when we say post-contract management, MGS branch is now a single point of contact for all post-contract management activities, whether it is PDI, whether it is JRI, what we say less glamorous. But you see 67% of the revenue or the 60% of the finance lies in the post-contract management. Like he rightly mentioned, he was actually underestimating in the capital domain, 90% of the budget is consumed by the capital liability, by the committed liabilities. So that is the fund which we are controlling, post-contract management. And since, somebody was asking a question and we are already 2 years into the Make in India, and somebody is asking, whom do I approach? If that is where we are, then there is something lacking between us. So today I want to make it clear, since self-proclaimed, I can say that since my office is dealing with post-contract management activities of all vendors, let it be a one-point contact or an interface with the industry. Yes, we will further take it forward where, people, if you have any queries, you can write to us. I can share my number, 98-711-99-156.
Kya baat hai. Very nice.
So, when we talk of imports, my office deals with imports. Yes, the better I do, the more I go down in eyes of the government here, because we are not supposed to import. But what we are importing? What we are importing as of now is niche technology, what we don't have. We require emergent, which is op-immediate, and which builds up the operational efficiency of the armed forces, and which is low population legacy Russian equipment or foreign equipment. That is what we are procuring. Notwithstanding that, there is an opportunity also here. I can share the list, we've been doing it, but I can formally share the list of what all we are importing in terms of spares, in terms of equipment, in terms of other such ancillaries or other equipment, so that you know what to indigenize. Because you see, we keep saying that our equipment lasts only 5 years, 10 years, but then we've been continuing, we've been maintaining that 30-40-30 principle. So this equipment will be there for some more time, and there are opportunities as far as the import is concerned. So you can come, interact with our office, and get a list of what all we are importing. Some part of it there is in the Srijan list, some you keep getting RFPs. The import process, as you are aware, is now governed by an empowered committee which gives waivers, and thereafter we import. The import budget is, there is no limit to the import budget. It is on as required basis. In case of ammunition, the budget goes much higher, which we have not been able to indigenize till now. In terms of spares, it is a little lower, but what I feel that it will continue, but our endeavor should be to indigenize as much as possible. So I will share that business potential which my office, it should only be called thereafter the BRIG indigenization and post-contract management and not BRIG import. That is what we are looking at in future.
Right.
Now, there are certain questions which are raised by Colonel Kuber. We've been talking of fast-tracking the procedure. Now, since my experience, firstly, I spent about 4.5 years in capability development as a director. I was part of WE11. I am from the Air Defense. So I was dealing with all the projects. And also that time there was a very nice concept of trials which was called, it was a foreign trial, multidisciplinary technical delegation. You know, we must introspect more about this kind of a thing, and we're trying to introduce, wherein when you used to go to foreign countries, within 10 days, you could complete the entire trial cycle. That was the mandate. Whether it is DGQA, EMIMC, MET or user trial, there was a mandate. A lot of it depended on certification, which the DAP does, empower you. On simulations, we used to see the equipment there, and within 10 days, the decision was given there and then, pass or fail. Why can't we have such kind of a system here? So, there are certain experiences of the capability development there. Thereafter, I was in the line directorate as a DDG, dealing with, again, make one and make two cases, and, the generation of the RFIs and the RFPs, what the line director does. And last 2.5 years, I've been in this office. So I got a fair bit of everything, that is the capability development, and then the make and the line part of it. And now, also, now with respect to the emergency procurement, it was a kind of a fast track procedure. But what happened? He touched one point of it, that there have been non-stakeholders, yes, IFA. It's not that IFA, there are certain agencies which are mandatorily required, which eases the CFA, it's kind of a hand-holding for the CFA. IFA is required. But is it only the IFA which is at fault, or we also are at fault? There is a kind of a, training session which I will call is required for the vendors. If you don't generate the right document at the right time, for example, there is a force majeure thing. When you know you have to generate it at the point of force majeure, why don't you generate the document? We will take cognizance of it. But if you do it ex post facto, there are procedures which debar it. So please generate the the force majeure document. Please apprise us from time to time that you are getting delayed. We have made enough provisions. For example, somebody was mentioning about DP extensions. I think Brigadier Anand raised this point. Now, DP extension, we already have a provision of provisional DPs where you do get your payments where the goods are accepted. But yes, we are looking at some, revolutionary ideas like, can we really do away with the GRI at all as far as the Indian systems are concerned? Like PDI is a very, very exhaustive process. And in the PDI also, at what point of time do you want the vendor to be engaged? Is it at the subsystem level? Because there are different views. That do you want to engage the QA systems at the subsystem level or at their own internal testing? Or you want them at the stage when they really offer the equipment? And when you've done the exhaustive testing and there are enough provisions of certification, do you really want the GRI? It is just a counting check in any which way. Because whatever, as per the DAP, whatever tests are there in the PDI are not to be repeated in GRI. Let's change the name of the GRI, let's call it receipt inspection or whatever. And just do the counting check, minimal payment at that point, because the complete agencies are involved there. So these are the kind of ideas we are looking at, and we've already given these ideas. Now, this was a 12-month, this EP was a 12-month process. What is given in the contract is, what you say that I'll deliver the good in 12 months, say quantity 400. We are not aware whether you will give in trickles, because sometimes, you forget to mention that line in the contract, which says, part delivery acceptable. There is a single line which is to be written, part delivery acceptable. We are not raising any eyebrows. Yes, sometimes we may legislate the minimum quantity, but part delivery is acceptable, that solves the purpose. But once you write that, we are not even aware whether in the month of March, how much will you give? In the month of April, how much will you give? In the month of October, how much will you give? Because we have to, give budget at various stages, B stage, RE stage, modified RE stage, and those stages are there, but we are not aware of the budget. That's how entire thing jumps on to the last quarter of the cycle, and then we end up surrendering the funds. So we have been talking of the principle of transparency. You give us the transparency on day one, don't mention in the contract, let it be flexible, but otherwise give us a visibility that in this month you will give this much, in this month you will give this much, so that transparency is there and we can actually plan. There have been numerous, EP4 what he mentioned was drastic, was 50% the projects have not fructified. When you talk of non-stakeholders, we had non-serious players also rising this time, because everybody came to know that EP is the wagon we must ride. So, earlier RFI or say the responses of the bidding, if there were 8, now there are 16, there are 21. We have to sort out all those things and the process gets derailed. So if the industry can help us in fixing the vendor credentials or making champions, only these guys will participate. so that we minimize the number of vendors and our task also eases. Otherwise, we have to look after everybody, and somebody will say, like, there was a case of the zipper somebody was mentioning, which is a very, very, there's a company which is making zipper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's been fasting, I believe. So because he went after the tea break. So what I'm saying is such like companies, smaller partners, MSMEs, we can't ignore. But what we can do, what my office can do or what we can do together is that who all can collaborate. Can we have this ecosystem created? Like combat vehicles, if DPSU, they have to connect this guy to the DPSU. Then there are 6 such guys. This champion gets connected with this. This is connected with this defense corridor. And this is connected with this procurement cycle. And he's the officer who's looking after it. In the MGS branch, I'm not talking in a particular sequence. In the MGS branch, my office is looking after the import and PCM. He looks after the vehicle, junk stores and clothing. He'll give his this thing. Then there is a brigadier assigned specially for ammunition. So these are the 3 brigadiers only in the entire MGS branch who are dealing with procurement. So you don't have to deal with a lot of people. You know, you feel ke kiske paas jaun. So there are only 3 brigadiers. Yes, there are enough colonels which once you get deeper into the system will get you connected with these guys. But the delays, I'm telling 50% of the projects were delays. Why don't you at that point say, I will not be able to make in these 12 months? Why don't you get stuck then? Because you are looking at, you know, the DP extensions which are forthcoming, aayenge, mil jayenge. First time, an unprecedented, we've been saying accountability. So you spoke about the European system accountability. There are enough examples of corruption in the DARPA also, and Europe, and I don't want to get into each one of them. Each industry, and then, you know, every country has a unique system. We have a habit of carrying everybody. You go to Europe, sir, you'll find only one person looking after your bedding, looking after your clothing. Here, sir, you'll be guided to the hotel. From the bus stand to that, you'll have 10 guides. So we are operating in a different system. We must understand that. You have to handhold everybody, move everybody together, but at the same time, the right person should not get, you know, harmed. So that is what we have to see. So this 50% delays, somebody is accountable, and we must see what are the reasons for it, and we move ahead. Now payments, my office is also looking after the payments. What we are trying to do now, the payment, how it follows the system is that the budget is allotted, you do your projects. Firstly, we do not know when will you offer the system for PDI. Suddenly one day I get a phone call that, sir, we want to offer the system for PDI. Okay, the PDI process starts with the QA and all agencies there. And then an I-note is issued, and I-note is the first document by which you get your payment. Let me tell you, I have already issued advisories, and I'll leave the document here also. The number of, you know, the errors, clerical error, yes, taken. There are number of, commission or omission, both kind of errors are there where you're not submitting the bills in time. We will guide you. We are trying to streamline the process. In case you can help us out, sir, it should be digitized. This is the format of the bill, and it should be common for all. Okay, so we will do that. We've trained the DPSU guys with us, the clerks with us. You want your guys to be attached, that they will train you in the manner we prepare the bill. We are ready to do that also. The bills, there have been cases where somebody quoted that there have been a delay of 9 months in processing of the bill. 9 months because there were reasons. Otherwise, average time by the time you get payment is about a month. I'm talking about PCI, month and a half, in case there is no problem with that. The bill first passes the scrutiny of our office. It is sent to the FP Directorate. From FP Directorate, it goes to the CDA, and in case of observation, it comes back. You know, we are all hostage to this system, this layered, multi-layered kind of thing, because there are major anomalies also which come out. So if those anomalies are reduced, obviously we'll eliminate some of these systems. IFA will not be required. Like he rightly mentioned, 1 and 2, IFA was not there, but there were major issues. Otherwise, there's no point, you know, everybody fought tooth and nail not to get the IFA in, but we were forced to get the IFA in. And he proved it. He proved with all the cases and all the case studies which he highlighted, or she highlighted, that these are the case studies, that is why I require IFA, and CFA was comfortable with the IFA. You see the comfort level also, we have to look at faster decisions. So I look after the payment also. Now I will stop here only. So basically import substitution, we can share the list. Second is the post-contract management, anything to do with anything till the time the life cycle ends. And lastly is the payment part of it. And any other questions which we'll take on during the course of the
Yeah. So that's excellent, sir. Thank you so much. That's really, really very good. I want to ask 2-3 questions, just follow up, and then. So before I ask you, I want to ask the audience a small question. I want to raise show of hands. After the MGS branch, CD, this, that, and that thing goes to the PCDA, How many of you have got calls from CDA, PCDA? So only 2 have been honest. I can tell you, this is almost 100%. We get calls. अरे साहब आपका जो है ना पेमेंट पड़ा हुआ है, आके ले लीजिएगा. No, there was one amphibia which exposed these fellows. RAFE amphibia exposed them. Ladies and gentlemen, take that stance. The services will be with you. Let us do it. RAFE amphibia exposed this damn system. I also got calls. I didn't have the courage to expose the system, but I only talk. So I want to leave it there. Second question that I want to ask you, slightly out of context maybe, but you can probably answer on behalf of your Air Force counterparts. For example, when the Rafale deal is signed, the entire post-contract management is being handled by the revenue procurement of the Air Force. Is that true? Will that be true? Okay. Will it be true, supposing you bought a IGLA-S from this thing, and the post-contract management will be with you? It is with you. Okay. Now, one thing I don't know whether it is there in the contract or not. Definitely it's not there in the DAP. Right to repair. I may not have the right to manufacture an aircraft, manufacture a tank, manufacture a submarine, manufacture something else, but I think I have the authority and the capability to enforce right to repair. So whatever be the contract, I think MRO has to be done in India. This is my suggestion, a view. I hope it is there. I hope we are able to enforce on the OEMs. Otherwise, tell them, yeah, we'll find another guy. L2 is also better than this, so there's not a problem. And they'll come, and they normally agree to that. Third question, actually these guys are not here. I want a show of hands. Assuming that you're all CFAs, how many of you would like to have an IFA advise you? Only one. You want that advice?
There is no problem getting the advice.
Okay, good. So please tell me one. Please tell me. No, follow-up question to you, sir. How many times have the CFAs overruled the advice of IFA? I don't have an example. Not once. No, we know the rule. I'm telling you. Yeah, please. Just 1 second, sir. Sir.
Here is a point in case where the industry actually asked for a very big contract or a tender which is ongoing. I would not like to take the name of the item.
Don't take.
But we asked for a split so that the ecosystem of, let's say, 4 or 5 gets developed. But we got to know that Army wanted it, IFA rejected it.
Okay, thank you. So anyway, like you're saying, sir, maybe we don't know. But that's not an excuse. Ignorance cannot be an excuse when you're sitting in a position. So you have to read. You have to read the GFR, you have to read the DAP. If Mr. Manohar Parrikar can find time to read 700 pages of DPP 2013 as a defense minister, maybe he's the only one who did it. I think all of us sitting in wherever we could do it. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to come to another aspect of. So, I'll come to Brigadier Rekhi if you want to answer, otherwise, I'll leave it there. So, Brigadier Rekhi is the one, like I said, he deals with all the A, B, vehicle spares, clothing, everything. There was a time in 2007, I remember, Raymond's came up to the chief and made a proposal that, they can supply the entire clothing to the Indian Army. The chief said, yes, we will do it, but the system didn't allow it. So our boys have to still wear whatever, ordnance factories give us. So I can only give you a small example. When I was commanding my unit, during the ADAM inspection, so the commander came and asked, how many sizes of clothing you have in your quartermaster store? I said, I've got only 2. Can you guess what are the 2 sizes? Oversize and undersize. I don't have a 3rd size over there. So, but then we have to solve this problem. I think we have to get the private vendors. So that is according to So I want to come to an important aspect of 1.2.5. Again, this debate is about stakeholders versus non-stakeholders. And it appears to me that DPM is under the domain of the finance division of the MOD. They write the DPM. They sign the letters. There was one Madam Anjula Naib sometime back, just because she was hired as a consultant. She was doing DPM 2009, I'm talking about at that time. And she was doing a good job, I'm sure. But where are the stakeholders? Have you ever asked the Army what do they want? Have you ever asked the Air Force, Navy what do they want? And if they want something, can there be anybody in the MOD who says, no, I don't want to put it? I think we have to get there. And deviation from procedure also, there is an important, I'm putting you under a little bit of pressure. You know, deviation procedure, when I read that DPM, it says the PSO concerned needs to move the file to the Joint Secretary and FA for approval of FADS and onwards to DEFSEC. Do you all understand what a PSO is? In the entire hierarchy, he's got the maximum experience, he's got the maximum operational experience, maximum administrative experience, maximum any type of experience. But JS, Joint Secretary, will sit on that. So Ricky, would you like to generally comment on, in terms of spares, I see that when I see spares itself about 41,000 crores. Are you handling the entire 41,000 crores? Which is spares and stores?
I am only handling...
Oh, Ricky, sorry. I'm so sorry. Pradeep, I'm sorry. Pradeep, I'm sorry, sir.
Yeah, so I am Brigadier Pradeep Godara. So I am the Brig Procurement Bravo. Our vertical, it handles B vehicle spares and B vehicle platforms and the spares of armored vehicles, that is A vehicles. So all these procurements we handle. In addition, we handle procurement of general stores and clothing. And also we handle procurement of special clothing and mountaineering equipment, which is used in the super high altitude areas like Siachen and the northern borders. In the last year itself, we had placed supply orders, almost 200 plus supply orders, amounting to approximately 6,500 crores. Of course, the entire amount didn't go to the private industry, but I can say that almost 40 to 50% of that went to the private industry. And coming specifically to spares, of course, platforms of B vehicles, large number of them are on GEM, and we are buying a lot of vehicles from the private industry. And of course, the spares of those vehicles again will be coming from the private industry. Because the OEMs, they don't make all the systems and the subsystems. So there is a huge opportunity there. And even the equipment which is ex-import, like for example the Tatra vehicles, which were earlier ex-import, and now the BEML is the OEM for that. So BEML itself does not manufacture all the spares of Tatra vehicles. This is just one example I am giving. And as far as spares are concerned, mostly we are going on OT, open tender on the GEM. And I am aware of few of the private firms who are competing with BEML, and they are defeating the BEML in the bidding process and emerging as the L1. Because that firm is a class 1 local supplier, and it is getting a Make in India preference. And BEML for large number of spares is not a class 1 local supplier. It is a class 2 local supplier. That means it is only the indigenization content is only 20% or less. So there is large amount of scope in the procurement of spares of B vehicles as well as armored vehicles. So I'll request the private industry to come up and participate, and whatever limited number of spares are being procured ex-import. Brigadier Rekhi mentioned about that. That also we want to procure from indigenous sources. So the industry has to come forward and indigenize all those spares. Because finally, everything has to be made in India. And coming to the general stores and clothing, you were talking about Raymond, sir. So the Indian Army has placed orders for combat dress digital pattern on at least 3 private players that I'm aware of. Because of the policy change which had happened in between, the policy was a little bit opened up and relaxed. But of course now, because of certain factors, we have gone back to the, the digital pattern combat dress will be again going back to the TCL. But related point is that whatever orders had been placed for large volumes of this dress, because the uniform requirements of Indian Army are immense. Now the private firms, they have taken the orders, but they are not able to supply on time. And that is where like DP extensions, delivery period extensions, we have been discussing. So the confidence of the army will grow in the private industry only when you are able to honor the contractual commitments.
Absolutely.
Once in a while, because of some unforeseen reasons, not being able to meet the delivery periods is understandable. But that cannot be as a matter of routine. So then because the entire procurement cycle gets disturbed if you are not able to deliver on time, then of course the payment cycles also get disturbed. And our future procurements also, they get further, it is a cascading effect on the future procurements. There is a huge amount of opportunity in general stores and clothing also. There is an ongoing RFP of bulletproof jackets, which you must be aware of. That order itself alone is amounting to 800 crores. And large number of private firms are participating in that. At least 4 of them I know who are participating. And hopefully the order should go to a private firm. But of course, before that, you have to pass the trial stage, the ballistic trials and all those stages. And there are many more. There is a upcoming order coming from combat free fall parachutes amounting to again about approximately 300 crores. So there are large number of items of general stores and clothing, firefighting equipment, sheet steel, corrugated, concertina coils, all the items required for defense bricks. So we are going open tender for all these items. Extreme cold climate clothing, snow boots, goggles, underpants, vest, thermals, you name them, and we are all going on open tender for all these things. And coming to special clothing, in 2021 December, the government had stopped ex-import procurement. Earlier, this specialized clothing for the Siachen and other super high altitude areas was mostly it was ex-import because there was no manufacturing base for this specialized clothing in India. So last year itself, we have placed almost 25 supply orders amounting to 750 crores for special clothing. And this year again, we are expecting the similar numbers. And but now we ask the support of the private industry to come forward, invest in R&D, because we want quality, top quality products for our soldiers who are deployed in the forward areas in these extreme climate conditions. We cannot compromise on the quality. So the industry has to step up, and we are even going for apportionment here. Like in large number of items, there is only one single vendor. And this is a very peculiar sort of a procurement where firstly the item has to be approved by the user. That is the Northern Command, the trials happen. Only vendors or firms who get approved by the users, in which we have no role. So all those firms, then they participate in the commercial part. And large number of items, there are a total of 57 items. And still there are almost 10 items which are yet to be indigenized. And a few of them, some more, about 5 to 10 of them, they are having only one single vendor till now, who has been approved by the user. So we want to indigenize these items. For items which have only one single user approved firm, we want to increase the vendor base. So there is a lot of opportunity here. So from our side, we are looking at more participation, giving us better quality products, and of course adhering to the timelines of delivery. Once it has been agreed to in the contract, then as a matter of routine, those timelines should be agreed to. And of course, in the form of transparency, we are having these pre-bid meetings also, and we keep having collegiate meetings. So we keep giving opportunity to the industry to convey their points, and large number of times we are issuing corrigendums also. It is not that the RFP is cast in stone, as one of the speakers had brought out. We issue corrigendums. If there is some clerical mistake or something has happened, or there is some sort of a specification which no industry partner has the capability to develop that, we are very open to that, and at times we have issued corrigendums also. You know, changing the specifications of the product also after taking due waiver from the competent authority. So we are very open to suggestions, and we want to encourage the industry. But of course, it is a mutual partnership, and both of us have to walk hand in hand. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. I do not know how much time I have, because officially the time is over. How much time more? Okay, good. So I've been told by the organizers that I'm not engaging the private industry participants on the stage. I'm going to come to you. I'm asking you specific questions. You answer that, because let us address the burning topic. See, I don't want you to come and say, oh, it's very good and excellent. No. Let's find out what can be improved. That's what we want to see. So I want to address 3 issues only in the next half an hour, with the help of industry, with the help of the audience, with the help of our services. 1, this whole game of ERA, reverse auction. That is number 1. Second is MSMEs. Are we really taking care of our MSMEs? Second question. The General mentioned in the opening remarks. This is my favorite line always. Last 15 years I've been saying this. I've been an advisor with the Ministry of MSME for 2 years. If India lives in villages, the industry lives in MSMEs. Are we really taking care of them? Number 2. And third is this whole concept of what Brigadier Pradeep was saying. 2 things. R&D, he said. The General talked about R&D. Everybody talks about R&D. Second thing he said, I hope private wins. He wants the private to win, but there is some problem in the private industry. I want you to address that. What is that problem? Why is it that, in spite of their hope, in spite of their support, in spite of everything, delays, you're not delivering? I mean, it's so bad to hear. I thought that was a domain of DPSUs. I never knew that it was a domain of the private industry. I mean, I didn't know that till now. But would you like to address these 3 issues, Arjun? First, you can talk about R&D, how you are doing your R&D. Second is, do you like this concept of ERA? And third is, I said something else, MSMEs. Yeah.
Sir, so I have a little contrasting opinion. I don't know if you give me permission. Go ahead. Sir, there is only one customer for us. We have been doing R&D for the last 30 years, sir. We've been developing products. We've developed about 50, 60 products, out of which 5 of them have sold. Right? The remaining 45, 50 odd products which have been developed, it is just an expense for us. Right? Because Make 2 did not exist, Make 1 did not exist at that point. We were developing products because some officer had told us. And then after that, after 2 years, the officer changes and the perspective also changes. But those problems are broadly solved now. But I don't think single vendor should be our core goal, not to have a single vendor. You can put the competition out there, because I'm spending money and I'm looking at the scale on a long-term basis. I'm not running anywhere because 30 years we've been existing here. We are here, and of course the money gets reinvested into other R&D of other products. So single vendor, if it is an outcome of fair trials, is still okay. That's my
I agree
perspective.
with you.
Yeah.
Outcome of a competitive bidding, resultant single vendor, DAP allows. What's the problem?
Yes. Sir, as for the EP, we have actually been beneficiaries of EP. There is no government, by the way, who has executed RFPs from the requirement stage to the supply stage. There have been 6 months delays for the supply of the projects. But if you see whole on whole, previously we used to take 8 years, sir, to supply a contract.
EP.
But 2 years, 2.5 years.
But EP, there is a problem in China, there is a problem in Pakistan, there is a problem in this thing. You have to deliver in, say, in 12 months. I mean, that is the concept of EP.
No, sir, but I'm saying in 18 months, it's a very big deal for that to happen. Right? Even the demos were considered and all.
Be sure I support you.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was hats off to the army for that. What was the second point, sir? Reverse auction, we face problems on this as well because we have to put in our margins for the R&D.
What problem did you face?
It's underbidding, sir.
No, not underbidding.
Yeah.
When the reverse auction is taking place on the screen, what do you see?
We see a price.
Wait a minute. What is that?
We see. No, one thing is we see prices and then it's like a casino slot machine. It's like
Casino chodo. What do you see? You see a price.
yes.
How am I sure that this price is coming from my competitor? How am I sure of it?
Because before the
Just because I have faith in system.
before the reverse auction happens, you are aware who are the technically qualified bidders.
Correct, I know.
So sometimes it is a
Maybe
case
they
of
are not
two.
bidding.
No. Maybe it is a case of two. You know who is that.
Maybe if it is a question of three, other three are not bidding, but still you see a price, then what happens?
No, it will not happen.
Why?
Somebody is doing the.
Why it will not happen something? Yeah.
Like when we have done this audit, what happens is there are 4 companies who are qualified. So the L1 prices is already shown, and after that 24 hours or 48 hours are given, and then you are supposed to rebid. So the L1 price is now known to you. Then only you go for R. Now this L1 cannot be of somebody.
My question is different, sir. My question is, there are 4 guys. L1 price I know, 100 crores. Now I see a number 90 crores.
Then you can.
I do not know if it is coming from my competition or somewhere else. This is my question.
No, your
Oh.
question.
You are faith in the system. You are faith in the system. But I am saying, what I am okay with.
Then it will go for RTI.
Okay. No, RTI. No, don't go there. Don't go there. Don't go there. Wait a minute. All that I am saying is, let the name of the bidder also come along with the price.
That's important and there should be checks and balances.
Yes. The name of the bidder who's bidding less than me, I want to know who's this fellow who's not even meeting the raw material cost. I want to know this. At least I want to know.
But you
He
know,
can let him
events come.
Eventually, I don't know who wins. Eventually, I don't trust him.
As any study, what is required is now ERA, we feel from the external point of view, it is essential. What we need to analyze, how many of these ERAs, they're fructified into orders, and what was the quality, what was that. Then only we can comment on this whether it is useful or not.
Generally, I believe my interaction says that quality has not been an issue. What is happening is the industry is taking a hit all the time just to get that contract. Yeah, Arjun, you wanted to say something on this ERA. Okay.
Sir, I have
What
a
about you?
suggestion. I have a suggestion.
1 second, please. Let the people on the stage talk.
So, sir, I have personally no issues with the RA.
Good.
When we go out in the open industry, non-defense as well, we are bidding with other players as well. So in this as well, as long as there's transparency, and I like your idea of having the name of the person who's L1, that gives us some insight.
Not L1. Throughout the process, I want to know who's this guy who's bidding.
That will just give us some more insight.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, and anything else you want to say?
And sir, also on the point of a resultant single vendor coming out. So I agree with the user's point of view that if there are multiple vendors, I agree. If there's a resultant single vendor, it's fine. But there should be encouragement for more vendors because it's at the
he told you
user-
he's hand-holding. He told you he's doing free bid. He told you that he's putting it on the internet. He told you that he's going to everywhere, he's talking about it. Isse zyada kya hand-holding?
I'm not asking for handholding. So that's exactly, I'm agreeing with you that it's after the handholding, they should encourage more vendors to get qualified.
They've encouraged.
Yeah. So
But people didn't come.
no, I agree. That's why I said
They
as
will
long
go
as resultant single vendor is okay, but also when the user says we want apportionment in the contracts to have more vendors. That's
So
also
my
fine.
suggestion is in a
Or
multi-bid
mislitigation.
scenario, In an opening multi-bid scenario, a resultant single vendor situation should be acceptable as a recommendation,
That's
sir.
absolutely
I'm leaving it there. Anything else that you wanted? R&D.
On the R&D, sir, when we talk about higher numbers out of your revenue to spend on R&D, it looks good in theory, but it becomes very, very difficult in reality because as my colleague also said, they developed 60 products, they are only able to supply 5 of them. So that's something we need to look at going forward. How can the industry have more funds for R&D?
You know, they have done a study, they did many things, then they developed those 60 and all that. Anyway, it's good that they are doing. But I want to ask a question to the audience now on this RA. Just one line answer only because of that. Only because of that. Is it a good idea? Yes. It is. Yes. How many say it's a good idea? Okay. About 20%. How many say it's a bad idea? Another 20%. The rest are sitting on the fence. Fine. So, yes, sir.
Sir, I raise my hand both the times. When you ask when it is good and when it is bad. Now, why I'm making this comment here, it's very important to understand, and I want to club 2-3 issues here. First of all, RA is good, but then Army should take a call, which happens in some places in Europe where OEMs informed us that there is a benchmark they set. Below that threshold, if the price is going, it's a red flag, first of all. Second, during the RA process, which happens in GEM, unlike the DAP procedure, R&D is not getting incentivized, whereas in DAP, you have the EPP. In these procedures, you are lacking.
Right. Okay. I just want to summarize. Yes, sir.
Sir, I have a related issue. After RA, why there should be a price negotiation?
It's not there.
It is there.
It's there. It's there.
Ask them, it is there.
This is wrong. Absolutely.
Finance. It's got nothing to do with them. It's finance.
Sir, may I just?
Yeah.
May I? So, RA, whether it is good or bad, at least for the buyer, it is very good. That is my opinion. It is a very considered opinion.
I'm going to tell you why it's bad for you.
Yeah. So
Okay.
just if you can listen
Right,
me out.
please,
sir.
sir.
So, I really don't know why the industry is afraid of RA. You know, it is a competitive way of bidding.
They're not afraid of RA. They're not afraid.
And
Now, I'll tell you.
second
one
part is
second.
second part what sir has brought out, that in spite of RA, then the CNC is done. And one speaker mentioned about benchmarking also. So benchmarking is an internal mechanism. It cannot be, disclosed to the industry. And there are mechanisms in place. There is a thing called procurement committee.
So I'll just hold you here because I want to come to General Hansi. So I want to come to you. I want to say something and therefore I want you to have the final word. So because, General Hansi has to have the final word. I cannot be. So I did a little bit of research on this ERA. Thoda sa, zyada nahi kiya, little bit and enough. So, General Financial Rules 167.1 refers to the provision of General Financial Rules 2017 that governs the use of electronic reverse auction in public procurement. Okay? It allows transparent, competitive bidding, good. Auction is conducted electronically, good. It is for procurement of goods and services where specifications are clearly defined and price is the only deciding factor. Okay? It enhances transparency, promotes competition. Implementation. So there is in implementation what happens is, the procuring entity must ensure that the ERA process complies with the principles of fairness and integrity. So how does it apply? So competitive bidding of standardized equipment, okay? Procurement like uniforms, non-lethal equipment, basic supplies, boots, clothing, furniture, stationery, consumables, where price discovery is taking place publicly, where price discovery is being undertaken publicly, okay? The electronic nature of auction minimizes human intervention. Good, all bids are visible, ERA is the single thing. So what are the challenges? So what it says, actually the rule itself, General Financial Rule itself says, when it is slightly for high altitude clothing, how can you do ERA? That poor fellow has to wear that clothing. I would rather go on T1. If you ask me, if I were to write the DPM tomorrow, I would rather go on T1 and I don't care about the cost at this point in time. I will say which is the most superior which my man can bear, because that poor fellow is just giving his life for nothing because you are doing ERA. If he knows that you are doing ERA, I am telling you, ladies and gentlemen, he'll come back. Of course, he'll not, but I'm telling, because he doesn't know, that poor fellow is thinking that, the system is good. So, examples of ERA: uniforms and kits, standard items, boots, office supplies, general stores, bulk purchase, limitations. So, there are a number of companies who walk out of ERA. Have we ever done ERA for Rafale aircrafts, for MMRCA? Have we done for MMRCA, okay, this is the L1 bid, come on. Let's see what F-16 is giving us, or let's see what Eurofighter is giving, or let's see somebody is giving. They will not allow that. It's not a standardized equipment. And similarly is not high altitude clothing. Similarly is not your ammunition. Similarly is not any of the stores which are in the 41,000 crores. Only boots, chawal, pani, this. You can do ERA. That is what GFR says. I am not saying. Okay? And there is a risk of over-focus on cost. The procurement agency runs this risk of over-procurement of cost, and then you're telling him, yeah, please do invest in R&D. Okay? So, sir, my question to you is it a good idea to be able to create a list of items which are eligible for reverse auction and the rest are not? Let us create a green channel and say, okay, these are the 20 items, 200 items, 2,000 items, 20,000 items which are eligible for ERA. Rest of them we will not do it. Can we think? Sir, all yours.
A few clarifications firstly. Say you started with the industry abroad that they have these systems and we don't. Firstly, indigenization we started in 2017. There was, in 2017, 50% or more than 50% ammunition was imported, and now, and 49 was what we were manufacturing. Today, because thanks to the industry, okay, we have almost 88% of the ammunition which is being indigenized, and balance is in the trial stage where we have maybe people who are sitting here also, have their companies who are participating. So, as per what is the roadmap which has been planned, that by this year 2025 we should have 100% ammunition which is to be indigenized. Next 5 years we are looking at MIL plus 2 more industries, that is the minimum. So whatever ammunition in India which is going to get manufactured, we are going to have all private vendors participating in it. So that is what it is, and beyond 2030 is what we are looking at, India becoming a global market for ammunition to supply all over the world. So that is one. You spoke about indigenization. When we talk about the indigenization content, we are not really looking at the cost. We are looking at the what equipment or what are the components that are getting indigenized. Cost is, it used to happen earlier, they used to put labor, they'll make the shell, they'll make such funny things. However, if you say, okay, for a missile it's a seeker, or is it the fuses, that is all getting imported. So now what has been said, it is a critical or the whatever, the niche component is what we are looking for indigenization.
Excellent.
It is not that labor and always gets included
Excellent.
as part of indigenization. R&D, yes, I take your point, yes, there is an issue. As far as procurement is concerned, we are looking at buying stuff, okay, but R&D, what I little know, that there is one Army Design Bureau. It's a full-fledged bureau which interacts with the industry. They give what are the requirements, because they receive the requirements from the various field formations. This is what they want. They collate and they get in touch with the industry. And there is one gentleman, you have seen him a number of times on the newspaper also, and they pay. They've been paying or hand-holding to a number of startups and such industries where R&D is happening, where it's partly somebody is doing and partly they are doing. So that is what it is. PCDA, yes, I take your point. There is this thing. It is not that what McFiber did. Even how the timelines which was taken by my department as well, because their brigadiers are with me, is also was asked and the details were sent. So there is this thing. So the point what
right.
Colonel Kuber was saying, yes, I have no role, really speaking. As far as passing of bill that is not my role. It is, we get an inode, we say go ahead, and that is where it gets processed. How it's getting processed is not my bandobas, but that is what it is. So this is, As far as the role of IFA is concerned, what does an IFA do? To start with, he is the one who says acceptance of necessity, whether this particular thing is required or not, and what is the quantity. These are the just two things for which he's giving concurrence. And in my experience, I have never heard, he may ask a question, but if you give a justification, no case has ever gone back that the concurrence was not given by the IFA. And the third thing when he comes into play is for the costing. Okay, yes, this is a cost, this is what benchmarking, this is the previous cost and whatever the factors are advised, and that is where we come to a benchmark where he has a role to play. And then when finally we have the vendor coming us, that is the CNC, that is where he has the role to play. But that is all he has. Yes, CNC at times, because things are important but expensive, and then we have number of CNCs going. Yes, that is an issue where the IFA comes to, it's some kind of a, we get that things get delayed, and maybe the file when it goes to him gets delayed, but otherwise my experience for whatever little time I have for last 6-7 months has been that, yes, delays happen, but there are never many hindrances which I have seen where I have been, IFA has posed for it. As far as the RA is concerned, like what Brigadier Godara said, as far as we are concerned, see, I am a procurement agency. I am going to get a product at the price which is most reasonable to me. Okay, that is what it is. So that is, and RA is not what I want. RA, like again, it was like what the MGS also said, we are the end user. RA is a system which has to be followed. I can't say, okay, just finish at the CNC and we don't go for RFA. IFA is never going to clear that. Okay, and for what reason, as a procurement agency, I didn't go for an RA. Okay, that is a question which will be asked to me. So we all understand that. And once for I want to make it very clear, be it RA, be it CNC, be it L1, at no stage, because of the price, that what we are receiving gets compromised. Because it is not that a thing has come on an RA and then he is not going to go for a trial, or DGQ is not going to check it, or whatever is not. All procedures, be it a normal procurement, be it EP procurement, be it RA procurement, everything, there are laid down procedures. I'm sure everybody knows that. You produce a thing, the first sample gets approved, then there are sampling which gets approved, and then only it comes. The specs have been laid by us, okay, or has been discussed by us. So even if it's a RA, non-RA, CNC, things will get checked, and there's not that because it's gone on RA and the price is low and Army is going to pick up substandard stuff. Doesn't happen like that.
So, but do you agree that
Sir,
green
just
channel?
last point, sir. You said like CNC, there's a benchmarking. I can also tell you, when we don't have RA in some cases and we have a CNC, even in those cases, there is a benchmark price, and we have placed an order where the price was quoted by the vendor was less than the benchmark price. So we can't say, okay, this is where he has reached the benchmark, and okay, below that we should not go, and we should, that's the line that we should finish. It doesn't happen. Even in CNCs where no RA has happened, we have gone, what we thought was a benchmark, we have gone below that, and SOs have been placed. So that is what is the broad gen which I wanted to give. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. That was excellent. Yeah, please.
So now this is with respect to the R&D. Now, I was working on some thesis, and there I realized there is some fund, which is available with the DRDO, 20,000 crores. I remember that figure, that was around about few years back. And the DRDO was grappling that no takers have come to us. So there was 25% which are reserved for the private industry. Now all people sitting in the house here, how many have utilized that fund? Is the process cumbersome? What is the issue that you've not been able to utilize that fund? That is one. Second is, now, I was reading a book, this Chip Warfare. Very nice book when you talk about R&D and companies taking risk. Now that is the difference between US and China. Somebody, invested into reverse engineering, they never reached that place. Whereas the company which invested into R&D, taking risks, the country also prospered, and where US is today in terms of the chip which is there. Now somebody asked a question about the vision document. There is a document which is called TPCR. How many of you heard that? It's called Technology Perspective Capability Roadmap. That was again about 5-10 years back. This document was there, initiated. Initially, it only gave the technology which was there. He was talking in terms of radars and other things. And then it started listing the kind of technology, the quantity, the quantum, and the life of the equipment which is envisaged. I think it's a very good document if we can work as an industry on that document, because you are looking at the business potential. What gives you visibility? 10 years hence, how do you plan? So business potential, one, that document is very good with a traceability. to your compendium of problem statement, to the AONs and the cases fructifying from that document. Otherwise, that is a standalone document. TPCR is a separate document. AON kuch aur milta hai, and you go somewhere else. So what is that piece of document which can really help you out? Please give us that. That is what you can share with the industry, working within the confines of confidentiality and the security things which are there. The other thing which is that last point which I want to make is that in the capability development or the CD directorate capital cases, you do get certain lead time because RFIs come, so the industry gets time, and by the time the AON or the RFP comes, you have a lead time. Whereas in case of revenue, what happens? Immediately the RFP is uploaded, you sometimes don't even have the RFIs because you are working on previous orders. So do you want some kind of a mechanism? What kind of lead time do you want so that you can respond to RFPs properly? Otherwise, we'll keep having cases like the EP cases, where yes, you do bid, non-serious players also come in, and most of the cases you are looking at 18 months. So what he was saying, the country is looking at emergency, but did we really provide that, cater for that emergency? 12 months, 50% of the guys not able to do extension. With extensions, only 30%, without extension, only 30% cases fructified. So I am saying if that is the kind of delay, so we have to draw out a mechanism. The country wants 12 months, you're not able to do that. We can't keep sleeping over it, in both the cases. So what is that mechanism where we want that your orders can fructify within 12 months? If you do this, advance is mandatory, this is mandatory, handhold here, share only few guys, there can be a lot of suggestions. So that was my last point of this. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think I have to conclude it now because we're running out of time. We can work it out. We'll work it out. We'll work out something because there is a requirement at the national level. That is the difference between EP and normal. No. We don't fight the whites. That is the EP. It's an emergency. That's fine. We'll work out these problems. Right. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are closing to 1:30, and I'm sorry that we are half an hour extra. But I want to conclude with a great applaud to our panelists who have been so nice, who have been with us. I just want to make one or two small points. One is we have to do away with nominations. Second is we have to align DPM with LTIPP. Third is this reverse procurement should be understood in the context of GFR 1671 and not in the context of what your IFA will tell you. Because IFA, for being safe, so there is a difference between safe and sorry. So to being safe, you cannot go to RA. RA, it is laid down. It is only for standard where the price is discoverable, not for others. So let's, all army equipment are there, let's keep it that way. And I think we talked about the connotation of the DPM itself. So sometimes, the procurement executive feels that DPM is a document laid in stone. That is what they felt about the DPP also, DAP also. And therefore, what we did when I was on the experts committee which wrote the DPP 2016, and we impressed upon Mr. Parikar that he should introduce a preamble. Like you have a preamble to the Constitution, there is a preamble to the DAP. If you see, there is a preamble. That preamble allows flexibility to the procurement executive to be able to take a decision at a point in time. So that is one thing I think we can include in our DPM while we do this. And we talked about R&D. I want to suggest, I don't want to ask a question, I want to suggest, because if I were to ask you a question, how many projects have you sponsored in IDEX, Aditi, IDEX Prime for R&D from revenue procurement? So, I don't want an answer. We are not asking for answers. I think when you talk of R&D, let us use these schemes. There is an IDEX scheme that is running. Everybody is sponsoring. Why can't our MGS also sponsor and take out the next generation ammunition car? I want IDEX. Dalo. He will run around, get matching funding. You will give some small funding from your side. You will keep twisting his neck and he will produce a damn good thing. Number of success stories in IDEX, number of success stories in Aditi, and the startup ecosystem in India is something I'm so proud of. Whether it is defense or in space, we are doing extremely well, and therefore my suggestion to you, sir, among the 41,000 crores, I think 10% of that can be earmarked, or 5%, whatever, I mean, your decision. My suggestion is, if you are telling that he should invest 10%, why can't you earmark 10% of this for sponsoring schemes in IDEX and Aditi? You can do it. R&D is always a nation's responsibility. R&D has got a risk of failure. R&D, you see in Make 1, Make 2 itself, where the risk of failure is very high to the industry, the government funds 70%. Where the risk of development is low, he says, okay, yaar, aajo, Make 2 mein. And where he wants to put in some new technologies, some incremental technologies, some transformational technologies, go to IDEX. So we have these things. I think we should use them. And I wanted to talk about military logistics, but then I think we are running out of time. And I also wanted to talk about the import substitution of equipment of Russian origin. A number of IRIGCs have been held. The Russians have been pushed. The Russians have been pulled. And I don't see any joint ventures. I think Secretary DP has chaired a number of sessions with them, both in Russia and in India. I don't know who paid for those travels, but ladies and gentlemen, we don't have a single thing yet today. We have yet to push them. We have got to see indigenization from that point of view. But ladies and gentlemen, we had an excellent talk today from our friends from the MGS branch. It was just candid, so it was not about, it's not we and you. We are part of the system, and we are truly indebted to you and grateful to you for doing such a great job. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. A wonderful discussion, a lot of points to ponder, and a lot of points to take forward. Thank you so much, sir. This is the beginning of the discussion, and we'll do some more interactive sessions. I discussed with Brigadier Rekhi that we'll have more interactive session on a bigger platform now. But now the discussion have begun, sir. We'll take it forward. Thank you so much, all the esteemed panelists. Major General H.P.S. Hansi, Additional Director General MGS Branch Indian Army, Brigadier Bhupendra Rekhi, Brigadier Gudara, Mr. Ajay Kumar, Mr. Arjun Alturi, the co-chair of Defense Committee, and Shri Dhruv Agarwal, also Executive Director, IDP Industries. Thank you, and all the delegates for being a part of this wonderful discussion. Thank you so much, sir. So just wanted to apprise you, sir, we are also, PGCCI is also a partner for Millipole, which is one of the biggest events. So that is happening day after tomorrow at Yeshobhumi. And we are doing the conference there, and the Honorable Minister of State for Home Affairs is coming. And I would like to invite all of you to be a part of that Millipole, which is happening in Yeshobhumi. And the MOS Home is coming, and the Minister from France is also coming. A lot of the DGs of CAPFs are participating, sir. And we would like to hand over this program, sir. And we would request your MGS branch to kindly visit that exhibition also. There's an exhibition as well as the conference also, sir. That's an important one. And we are a co-organizer for that, sir. Thank you so much. Before we conclude, I would request our co-chairs, Mr. Vaibhav Gupta and Mr. Arjun Alturi, to kindly felicitate our dignitaries on the dais. I will invite Vaibhavji. Actually, one quick point.
Apart from the project specific to MGS, even the DPM procedure, if there is any indication that we can get involved as PST chambers to give in the industry inputs. Yeah. Right.
We have a feedback form. Will be distributed over email, because that will be a soft copy, because the content can be large. So we are sending all soft copy to all the participants and many more, not even the not only the registered participants, more people. We have prepared a form with Brigadier Rekhi, and we'll be sending for the input, sir, and that will be submitted to your office. Thank you so much, sir. I would like to invite Vaibhavji and Arjunji to kindly felicitate Major General H.P.S. Hansi, the Additional Director General, Indian Army, MGS branch, with the memento of PGCCI memento. Babaji, please come forward. I'll just Thank you. एक बार फोटो, I'll just, हाँ, please एक फोटो. Thank you, thank you. I would also request you to felicitate Brigadier Bhupendra Rekhi. Brigadier Bhupendra Rekhi, thank you so much for your inputs and for your feedback. Brigadier Pradeep Gudara, Brigadier Saab, you also shared some very, very vital points. I would request Vaibhavji and Mr. Arjun Alturi to kindly felicitate our moderator, Colonel K.V. Kuber, the Indian Army veteran and Director Aerospace and Defense, EYLLP. Thank you, Colonel Saab, for making it more vibrant. The discussion is very vibrant and participative. Thank you so much. I would also request you to kindly felicitate Shri Dhruv Agarwal, the Executive Director for IDP Industries. Dhruvji, yeah. Thank you, sir. If we can have a group photograph, I would request my colleagues Sachin and Pulkit to kindly come on the dais, please. Sir, if you can come in the center, sir. General Saab, please. Yeah. I would invite everyone to join for us for the lunch.
Great.